Let's get it. 580 Sports Talk on a Tuesday afternoon. Thanks for being with us on 580 WIBW FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, and on our live video stream. You can find it on Facebook, WIBW News. You can find it on YouTube, streaming live on our channel 580 Sports Talk. However you are consuming the show today, thanks for making us a part of your Tuesday afternoon. Dan Lucero, Brendan Dworzinski, Spencer Dupuis, the gang's all here for the next 3 hours. Plenty to get to on the program. We're going to have a good time, and we're glad you are here with us today. Big day in the National Football League. 2 star wide receivers are on the move to would-be AFC contenders. Davante Adams is a Jet. Amari Cooper is a Bill. We will talk about the impact of those moves and whether or not that increases the need or should increase the urgency of the Chiefs to try and go find an impact wide receiver before the NFL's trade deadline. That is before the Week 8 action, correct? Or is it after Week 8?
It is after Week 8.
Can you turn on your microphone and tell everybody?
It is turned on for you.
All right. We have an issue in the control room. We'll go ahead and take care of that. But we will discuss the impact of the additions for the Jets of Davante Adams and for the Bills of Amari Cooper. And Andy Reid had some interesting things to say yesterday at his press availability about the addition of a wide receiver and an assumption we've long had about the Chiefs needing to add a guy that I don't think is necessarily correct. And I think that Andy Reid made it clear that it is not a correct assumption. Are you able now to tell the folks when the trade deadline is in the NFL, Brendan?
Yes, they backed up the trade deadline now, and I believe it is after Week 8, if I'm not mistaken. But I am double checking that because it used to be this week. November 5th is the deadline. So that's actually after Week 9, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, that's after Week 9. It's truly the halfway point of the season now.
Yeah, that looks correct. Yeah. So 2 weeks out of that and two big
plenty
moves.
Of time.
Yes, plenty of time to do something. But 2 big moves made today. We will discuss their impact. Also have some thoughts on Monday Night Flag Ball last night. Hope everybody enjoyed the tension convention at MetLife Stadium.
I didn't enjoy any of that.
No, wholly unpleasant game of football.
We've like, if you're Roger Goodell, you've got to know that this is bad, right? Like, I know the players and coaches aren't allowed to criticize the officials anymore, but like, you've got to know this product stinks, right?
That was a bad night. That was a really bad night on Monday Night Football. We'll have some thoughts on that moving forward. Obviously, both teams going to look very different moving forward. Both teams last night came away from that game thinking probably one of 2 things. Number one, am I okay to leave the building? Will I have a flag thrown on me if I try to exit MetLife Stadium? And number 2, we need another wide receiver. And so both teams made trades this morning. So some NFL football to get to today. Also some college football to get to today. We are at the midway point of the Big 12 season. Most teams have played at least 6 games of the allotted regular season 12. We tiered the Big 12 teams before the season began. Then we tiered them after 3 games. Now we're going to tier them again at the halfway point. We'll see which teams belong on which tiers in the Big 12. All 3 of us has put together a tier. We'll throw them up on the YouTube if you're watching the live stream at that time. We'll also give out our halfway awards, our midseason awards for the Big 12, Offensive and Defensive Player of the Year and Coach of the Year. We have a unanimous Coach of the Year pick, and we'll get to that a little bit later on in this hour. We'll also talk some KU football and basketball with the great Michael Swain of Fog.net and 24/7 Sports. He'll join us at the bottom of the 4 o'clock hour for Jayhawk Weekly. Look forward to hearing from Michael later on in the show, as we do every Tuesday here on 580 Sports Talk. And we'll get to some Royals baseball as well, because it's pretty clear that for anything to happen for the Royals roster, there is one domino that has to fall first. We talked a little bit about him yesterday, but there is one player specifically whose decision will impact how the Royals progress through their offseason. We'll tell you who that is and why it's not such a lock, a guarantee, as some I think have assumed, that he won't be a Kansas City Royal next year. We'll get to that coming up in the 5 o'clock hour. Plus, all the things you've come to know and love from a Tuesday edition of 580 Sports Talk, Little Random Question Tuesday. 2 new stories on what is wrong with you. We'll do our sports headlines, top of the 5 o'clock hour, and we do have a lot of those, including a playoff roundup from Major League Baseball. Plus, your interaction with the show today. If you are watching us live on YouTube, on the 580 Sports Talk YouTube channel, jump on in the live chat. The water's fine. Interact with your fellow listeners and with your host throughout the next 3 hours. You can also text the program. The text line, the Top City Metal Supply text line, is 785-272-9429. That is 785-272-9429. One last thing we have to get to before we really get started with business today on 580 Sports Talk. I've got another keyword for the ultimate European vacation. You could win a 10-day trip to Europe. We want to send you and a +1 on a VIP trip to Paris, Venice, and London, including airfare, hotel stay, and luxury experiences in each city. Listen for the winning words every weekday for your chance. You go to 580wibw.com and you enter the keyword each hour to register yourself for a chance to win this ultimate European getaway. This hour's keyword is stay. S-T-A-Y. Stay.
Inspired by Alessia Cara, obviously. Hey, quick question
I was
for
going
you.
to say Lisa Loeb.
Oh.
I was going to say you're going to stay in Europe for 10 days.
So you were not making a music reference.
Nicely done. It is correct, though. I think it was Alessia Cara who did that.
There's also Stay With Me, right?
Stay with...
Is that Sam Smith?
I think that's Sam Smith.
Yeah, I think that's right.
I was right as well. Spencer, I have a trivia question for you.
Yes.
If you're American in the living room, what are you in the bathroom?
I don't know.
European.
Oh, my God.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Great. Good job. You got me there.
Zapped him!
That's, I thought the dad jokes were my exclusive domain on the program these days. Oh, wow. All right.
That's a classic.
We'll try to recover from that moving forward here on 580 Sports Talk. All right. The details on the 2 big trades today. The first one to go down was the Davante Adams deal. You all right?
Yes. There is hilarious news coming out of Buffalo just now. It is related to Amari Cooper.
Yeah, they're releasing MVS, aren't they?
Yes, they are.
MVS is a free agent.
Oh, my gosh.
Dude, if the Chiefs sign him, I'm going to freak out.
They're going to do a full montage set to that I'm Coming Home song, like when Carmelo Anthony went to the Knicks.
My whole now didn't exactly love playing with Marquez Valdez-Scantling.
Didn't win any Super Bowls with him.
That's true.
The Chiefs won 2.
1-2. Yeah, guaranteed.
Playoff MVS. I'm not saying. I'm just saying. Anyway, the details on the big trades. Apparently, Davante Adams got on a plane like at the crack of dawn to get to New York today. Like they were locked and loaded and ready to do this deal. The Raiders are getting a conditional 3rd round pick from the Jets, which could improve to a 2nd round selection if Adams makes an all-pro team or is on the active roster for the AFC Championship game or the Super Bowl. So it will be a 3rd round draft pick.
Yeah. I mean, I think Davante Adams still can play like an all-pro with a real quarterback, but he also missed a pair of weeks. He's getting traded. No.
Yeah. So apparently Aaron Rodgers got the text last night at like 12:45 a.m. Eastern. So, I mean,
I'm sure it was in response to a text that he sent that said something about Mike Williams that I'm not allowed to repeat on the radio.
No, it was from Adams.
I'm
Really
sure he
Adams.
texted Davante Adams and told him how much he hated Mike Williams.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was
kind of a fait accompli after how last night went down.
I think it was always more likely that he'd be traded to the Jets than to the Saints because those are the 2 teams that were, Derek Carr and Aaron Rodgers, his 2 best friends in the NFL, maybe his 2 best friends in the whole world.
Who also has money.
Yeah. Then Derek Carr got hurt and the Saints started playing a rookie quarterback who was the 5th round pick, which probably was a good indication that the Saints are trying to find a replacement already for Derek Carr.
Yeah.
Because if they weren't, they would have just played Jake Haener. And they didn't do that. So it was probably pretty obvious that the Jets were going to be the move.
So that is the move the Jets have made today. Meanwhile, the Bills have added Amari Cooper and a 6th-round draft pick in next year's draft in exchange for a 2025 3rd-rounder and a 2026 7th-round selection. So if you're keeping track, Amari Cooper was traded from the Raiders to Dallas for a 1st-round pick. And then was traded from Dallas to Cleveland for a 5th-round pick. And now goes from Cleveland to Buffalo for a 3rd-round pick.
Do you know who also got traded for a 3rd-round pick this year?
I do not.
I know where you're going with this, yeah.
Jahan Dotson.
Yeah.
Adam Peters schemed the Eagles.
So, yeah, you could have had either 5-time Pro Bowler Amari Cooper with 9,700 career yards or Jahan Dotson.
Who had a great rookie season, and that's it.
Yeah, so pretty good move. Pretty good piece of business, honestly. And I know he's a rental, but that's a pretty good piece of business by the Bills, I think. Like, if you think you can go win a championship, why not?
Man, when that call came through for Amari Cooper, do you think he felt like Andy Dufresne in The Rain at the end of Shawshank? Do you think that's how he felt?
Yes. More intense.
Yeah, but better.
Yeah,
like,
truly.
You know, you talk about crawling through 500 yards of bleep-smelling foulness. That has to be what playing with Deshaun Watson is like in 2024.
You know what's funny? Do you know when he was at his best last season?
When was that? When Joe Flacco was playing?
When Joe Flacco took over. He was not especially good before that. And then Flacco showed up and, oh, hey, by the way, there's Amari Cooper again. Oh, yeah, 5-time Pro Bowler.
Oh, wow, yeah, he's
there
good.
He is.
Who knew?
He looks miserable. He looks genuinely miserable in Cleveland.
I believe he's looking right now at a career low yards per catch this year. I looked at the numbers earlier, and yeah, 10.4 yards per catch would be a career low.
He looked truly like he detested everything about his situation. And he's not the only one, in Cleveland who feels that way.
There have already been some rumblings out of Cleveland and kind of a now it can be told sort of way that he could not stand Deshaun Watson. And not just from a this guy's a bum perspective either.
No, because even beyond the, potential alleged sexual misconduct against 66 different masseuses that we know of, he just is an ass. Like, he has been a bad teammate. He's been a bad guy even outside of that ever since he got to Cleveland. Like, there's no redeeming the nasty man right now. Or what you call him, Spencer? The
dirty man.
There's no redeeming that. And if you're Cooper, you're closer to the end of your career than the beginning. He's probably still got a couple years left, but you're not 26 anymore. Like, if you want to go win and get paid again, you got to go perform now. So I don't blame him for wanting to get the hell out of there as quickly as possible.
It's a really good move for the Bills. They're a better team today than they were yesterday.
Agreed.
And the Jets are a better team today than they were yesterday. Neither team, these moves don't necessarily address some of the other flaws that these teams have. Devontae Adams can't block. And
not a blocker.
No. So that's kind of a problem for a quarterback that is getting beaten up pretty good.
Yeah, he's also not a 315-pound left tackle.
Right. That's what I mean.
Right.
Yeah. Now I'm not talking about he got a block on the outside. No.
He doesn't do much of that.
No, he doesn't, and that's fine. That's not what they got him for.
Right.
But it doesn't address the fact that their offensive line isn't playing very well, and that Aaron Rodgers is 40 years old on one leg behind not a very good offensive line.
Mm-hmm.
For the Bills, it doesn't address some of their weaknesses, particularly on the defensive side of the football, some of the injuries they've dealt with. But again, these teams are better today than they were yesterday. And now you look at the Kansas City Chiefs as a team that is without their top 2 wide receivers on their depth chart for the remainder of the season. Rashee Rice is not coming back. If Hollywood Brown comes back, it's going to be in January. And I wouldn't get my hopes up for him coming back and performing like a wide receiver 1 after being on the shelf the entire season. So the question has been, really, since we saw Rashee Rice go down at SoFi Stadium a couple of weeks ago, are the Chiefs going to address the wide receiver position? And a lot of the discussion around that centers around the idea that, you bring a wide receiver into Andy Reid's offense. They got to learn all the terminology. They got to learn how to play the position in that offense. It's not easy for wide receivers to get cohesive in an Andy Reid offense. We just saw two AFC teams, and I guess it's different with Devontae Adams because he's going to be familiar with a lot of the Aaron Rodgers stuff, because essentially what you're running anymore is the Aaron Rodgers offense in New York. But like, the Bills aren't concerned with terminology or routes.
Mm-hmm.
They just said, hey, we got a stud quarterback. He needs another dude to get open. So we went and got him a dude who can get open. Why are the Chiefs the only team that we talk about, man, it's just going to be too hard for a really good wide receiver, they got to aim lower? Why are the Chiefs the only team? Like Andy Reid's got this uniquely difficult offense to it. I know it's an intricate offense, but also I feel like Amari Cooper would be good in it.
Or, I say this fully admitting that previous to last offseason, I was not pro DeAndre Hopkins because I did not think that was a good fit for this offense, what they normally go for. But I think you are correct, and I think we have seen proof now that just go get playmakers. Just go get guys who can make plays and make it all work behind them. Let it all like DeAndre Hopkins can still go, okay? Maybe he's not the answer here, but I'm just throwing out a name because he's been relevant to the Chiefs fairly recently. The question for me is, why haven't we seen the Chiefs do it? That's my big question. Like, why do the Chiefs not go for it? Because it's one thing for you and I and Spencer or a fan or just a spectator to say, well, the Chiefs aren't going to do that because they never do. Okay, that's one thing. But what happens when you, like, when it's the team, when you're talking about the general manager and the front office? Like, what's the rationale behind only getting small, shifty guys, unless it's MVS, whose whole thing is he's a tall guy who blocks and runs fast, but doesn't really catch the ball? Like, I don't understand the philosophy behind it, because in my mind, Patrick Mahomes, who is, I think he's a very smart decision maker who occasionally tries to get away with more. Like, some guys are gunslingers. Jordan Love, more gunslinger. He's more Brett Favre than Aaron Rodgers. Okay, I think that's fair to say. I don't think Mahomes is a gunslinger. I think Mahomes tries to push the boundaries of what he knows he can do, which sometimes gets him into trouble. But like, how many times has he thrown a game-ending interception?
Buffalo,
AFC Championship game.
Buffalo last year, regular season, or was that 2 years ago at Arrowhead? He threw the pick.
I think it was 2 seasons ago. Yes, because I believe that happened while I was at WWE.
Okay.
The show at the event center.
Gotcha.
So, like, it doesn't happen very often. I think he just tries to push those things because he knows he can get away with it a lot of the
Indianapolis 2 years ago, he did.
Don't you think you'd want a guy who can go up and get it with a quarterback like that? Like, again, like Hopkins, who for so much of his career wasn't a separator. He was, throw me the ball. This quarterback is 5'10". You don't think I can go get it? Throw me the damn ball. I think that's a good fit for Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, go and get those 7-Elevens. Go and get guys who are always open.
Post, back shoulder comeback, fly. Like, just run 3 routes. That's all we need you to do. Everyone else gets Rashee Rice. I know he's not playing, but like, generally speaking, he can go do the rest. Travis Kelce can do the rest. Just go. Get downfield.
How much terminology can there be on those 3 routes? 9, go, like, fly, whatever you call it. Here's the thing that's interesting, though, because I think there may be something of a change of heart occurring, at least from Andy Reid's perspective. Because
I like where you're going with this.
Andy Reid was asked this question yesterday, and I believe it was our guy Matt Derrick who asked this question at his press availability.
I believe so.
Yeah, it was our guy Matt who asked a good question. And he was asking about wide receiver targets in trade and whether or not the Chiefs would consider looking at guys who had not previously been within the organization. And this is what Andy Reid said, quote, I think that helped Juju and his situation coming back and jumping in. It helped McCole coming back. But I'm not saying other guys can't come in and help out. I don't think that's an issue. It's just going to take him a little bit longer to figure it out and get on the same page with Pat and all those things. It won't be quite as good as what you've seen with these other guys that have been in it. So I think there are 2 things to take away from that. Number one, yes, the understanding that you do have to develop chemistry with your quarterback, and you do have to come in and learn some things in the offense. And I'm not dismissing all of that out of hand necessarily, but Reid saying explicitly, I'm not saying other guys can't come in and help out, is, I think, an interesting thing for him to say out loud.
It is.
Because he is not, as we have talked about before, he is not always willing to give you anything. Like there's a lot of saying things without saying things with Andy Reid. You read between the lines here. Very similar to the Rashee Rice injury, right? Like, okay, if Andy Reid is saying in game on the fly to Tracy Wolfson, yeah, it doesn't look good for Rashee Rice, that's way more info than he normally gives. He could have easily done the I let Brett Veach worry about that kind of thing. That's Brett's job. I'm just worried about the guys who are here. That's always his line when it comes to personnel, right? He very easily could have said that. Instead, he clearly has at least thought about this before. And we know that any personnel move, no matter what Andy likes to say, he at least gets some say in what the move is going to be, at least for the offensive players. So I do think this is relevant. I do think this says, hey, the idea has at least been broached within this coaching staff and within this front office. And good. You should be willing to branch out and do new things. Look at the Royals. This is not a team who for the better part of 7 years or whatever, did not make moves, hell, long before that even, did not make moves like they made going into the 2024 season. They just did it, let alone the moves they made in season.
I was about to say, let alone what they did to get through September.
Like, they did that in the World Series years and, like, never at any other point. The 2017, they just sat on their hands. Like, yeah, we'll just let Moose and Locaine and Hosmer just, like, do their thing and not trade any of them or add to the pile.
Oh, what was their big trade that year? Was that the year they went out and traded for Trevor Cahill? I think it was.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, that was the year they went out and traded for Trevor Cahill and Ryan Buchter and Brandon Maurer, and that was their big trade deadline deal.
Brandon Maurer, horrendous Royal. That was not. That was like right after I started working here. That was not pleasant one bit.
Brandon Maurer's ERA as a Royal started with an 8.
Not good.
Wow.
So, like, you look at them. That's a good example here. Do something different. Add something you don't already have that can help propel you to a new area. I'm not saying it's apples to apples here, Chiefs and Royals, obviously, but I don't think it can hurt to try something new. What happens if you add someone who's not familiar with the system, who's not your prototypical type of wide receiver, and he takes 3 weeks to get acclimated and he fills in as like a low-end wide receiver 2, high-end wide receiver 3. You are so much better off than you are now, even with that.
But none of this is going to matter because the chips have fallen as they may, and MVS is going to be a Chief here in the next few days.
Spencer, I'm putting you in timeout for that.
I'm just saying. The chips has fallen as they will. He's now a free agent. They're going to re-sign.
Spencer, take us to break. We got some good comments from the YouTube live chat I want to get to real quick. We'll talk about Monday Night Flag Ball from last night after this first time out. We're just getting started on this Tuesday edition of 580 Sports Talk. 3:32 on 580 Sports Talk. Dan, Brendan, Spencer hanging out with you until 6 o'clock on this Tuesday. Couple of thoughts from the YouTube live chat I wanted to get to. And if you are watching live on YouTube, 580 Sports Talk is the YouTube channel. Drop on in the live comments. We love to see you folks interact, not just with us, but with each other as well. Paul speaks to a point that I've been making, or that I think I alluded to this probably a couple of weeks ago when the Rice injury happened, regarding a guy like DeAndre Hopkins. If, for example, a third-round pick would land him, would you rather have Hopkins in the shot at the three-peat or a third-round pick that might pan out long-term? I think that the chance to make NFL history is so valuable that it is worth maybe cashing in a future chip.
Depending on where you like to get your NFL analysis and insight and all that, you've probably seen the Pro Football Focus folks who would rather hoard 7th round picks than add an active player.
I call it, when it comes to baseball, I call it OOTP brain, as in out of the park baseball, where you're just trying to stack all your prospects. You hug your prospects and
prospect hugging.
Yes.
Yeah. That's a big term in baseball too. I think for a little while when I was really getting into football analytics, this is a while ago now, I probably felt that same way. I have evolved over time. I'm very much a go for it person. There's no guarantee the Chiefs will ever win another Super Bowl.
Yeah.
That is not guaranteed. And you say, well, come on. Wayne Gretzky never won one after he left Edmonton.
This is true.
He's literally the great one, right? And he never won another.
Went to Los Angeles and they got close once.
Nobody. You get revisionist history or not, nobody thought Aaron Rodgers would have won Super Bowl. No one. Absolutely not. Packers went 15-1 the next season, got knocked out in the divisional round. Nothing is promised. Nothing is guaranteed. If you take your chances right now to go from 4% chance to win a Super Bowl, you're the most likely team, but there's 32 teams. You can add 5 percentage points to that. Why not? You already have a good team. You're going to draft well. You're going to get a starting cornerback in the 6th round next year anyway. Go and make your team better now.
Go make it happen. Yeah.
I'm absolutely. Paul adds, too, in the YouTube comments, that 3rd-round pick could be a Travis Kelce or Jamal Charles. It could also be a Phillip Gaines or a Donald Stevenson. Who? Exactly. No, and I agree with Paul completely. I would say go make a move.
Tyler in the YouTube comments also says, I think it's Mahomes' call, and if he thinks he needs another weapon. And I'm sure Mahomes is very involved in this, and maybe he is comfortable with the guys in the room. Maybe he would be comfortable if Brett Beach is texting with him right now saying, hey, what if we brought back your old pal MVS for one last ride? Maybe Patrick Mahomes is all about it.
Patrick Mahomes will respond, new number, who dis?
I don't know. He did catch a big catch in the
playoff MVS. Playoff MVS. Real thing.
Come on.
I don't
keep
think
him on the shelf. Don't activate him until the final week of the year, and then he'll play when nobody else plays, and then he'll get going in the playoffs.
I cannot tell you how frustrating it was that he came up so big in the postseason. I got to be honest with you, it's so frustrating. But yeah, I mean, maybe he wants familiarity, and if so, you kind of have to acquiesce to the quarterback. We see that all over the league. Some guys are just more quiet about it than others. Cough, cough. I'm talking about Aaron Rodgers compared to Patrick Mahomes.
Speaking of Aaron Rodgers, his team lost last night in one of the more unpleasant Monday Night Football games.
Flag.
Damn, 10 yards.
Hold. 10 yards.
Who was the head official last night?
I don't actually know his name. But I do know that was the same officiating crew that did last week's Patriots game, where they called the Patriots for a bunch of penalties that didn't actually happen. And I'm not crying for New England, but completely made up, just out of thin air, fake penalties.
Adrian Hill is the name of last night's official.
Personal foul. You mentioned the referee's name. 15 yards. Automatic first down.
Jeez, just giving up yards left and right. Yeah, it's regardless of your what you're rooting for or who you're rooting for, it is so unpleasant to watch a game where every other play there's a penalty flag.
And so, there was one moment because Aikman was so upset. And Buck, I was actually surprised, didn't make more jokes about the refs. Aikman was very clearly pissed off about it. And at one point in the 4th quarter, they had offsetting penalties, and they were legit. And Aikman started laughing and went, well, you can get as mad as you want about them throwing the flags, but at least those two were penalties.
Yeah.
It was very funny. But after the game, Aaron Rodgers went out of his way to say a penalty in which he got hit for roughing the passer against the Bills, he's like, that was ridiculous. Even the one on me.
That was an all-time soft roughing the passer.
He told AJ Epinesa after the play had ended, that's a soft call. He got 15 yards. It's like, no, this call sucks. Yeah. You know how bad it has to be for that to be the case? That's ludicrous. And I guess I give Rodgers credit and props for being honest about it, but holy smokes, man.
Aaron Rodgers does not have a 300-yard passing game since 2021, which is pretty amazing.
He had it, and then it got called back for a penalty.
Yeah.
That little swing pass to Breece Hall.
Yeah. 294 total yards through the air. Like, the numbers on their face look pretty good. I didn't think it was the best Josh Allen we've ever seen, but rushed for a touchdown, threw for 2, coming off of the chest injury that he suffered last week.
Mm-hmm.
Bills needed it. They go to 4-2. Jets dropped to 2-4. Like, even with the addition of Davante Adams, do you think the Jets are a factor in the AFC, or like they've lost 3 in a row? I don't know how much realistically Davante Adams is going to help them. They go to Pittsburgh next week, Sunday Night Football.
Yeah.
They've got the Texans still to come on their schedule.
Joe on YouTube commented, Big Linen has invaded the NFL. That's hilarious. That is very, very funny. Joe, funny. That's great work.
That's good.
I mean, maybe they get a wild card. Not the 5 seed, but they can get the 6 or the 7. Like, Aaron Rodgers, even who he is now, throwing to Davante Adams is magic. Like, I experienced every throw between the two of them because they played for my favorite team for a long time, but like, that's a legitimate borderline Hall of Famer wide receiver and what I think is one of the 5 greatest quarterbacks of all time. Like, and with a great connection. I think those two are going to put up numbers. Mike Williams, I will be shocked if he finishes the season a Jet. I will be utterly dumbfounded if he finishes.
He might even be the guy they release.
He might be. He might be a Chief. That one game he plays before he gets hurt, cinema. I guarantee it.
Oh, yeah.
But, like,
Chief killer, Mike
that
Williams.
will help. Devontae's going to put up numbers. Rodgers will have great numbers while targeting Adams. The offense will probably look a little more seamless. Did you know that the last year that Adams was in Green Bay, that 2021 season, at one point, and Aaron Rodgers said this to Robert Mays of the Athletic Football Show, at one point that season, 80% of their offensive concepts were designed for Davante Adams. 80% of an NFL offense was designed for one player. That's like the Kai Thomas Topeka High offense.
Right.
Like, that's insane at the NFL level. So those two will be fine. They can't block. And every time Aaron Rodgers gets hit, he gets up walking like he's Red Fox.
Yeah, that's the problem. Their schedule is not terribly strenuous the rest of the way, outside of their return trip to Buffalo, which is all the way on December 29th. Like I said, they got the Steelers next week. That's an interesting game. They play the Texans at home. Other than that, it's not real strenuous. Like, it's pretty easy to look at this and see 9-8 as a possibility for them, provided Rodgers stays in one piece, which, I mean, game by game, that doesn't look like a guarantee like you just laid out. He's taking a beating and doesn't look like he's moving too great. So, yeah, we'll see how it goes.
And that line's not going to get better because that is a position you really have a hard time trading for a starter at the deadline, is an offensive lineman.
Also, the under did not hit, so Spencer had a losing week in the 5A Sports Talk picks sponsored by Prairie Man Sports.
Yeah, I noticed that, when they threw a Hail Mary at halftime, and I checked the score, and I was like, you've got to be kidding me.
Greg Zuerlein also had the under last night.
Woof.
Tyler Bass maybe did too. The worst missed extra point I think I've ever seen in the history of the NFL. Like, me hitting a 4-iron was so bad.
I thought he kicked the top of the ball. Like, I thought he might have bounced it like an onside kick.
Me hitting my 4-iron. Top city. We'll take a break. When we come back, the Big 12 football season has reached its halfway point. We have some awards to hand out. We'll do it next on 5A Sports Talk. We're at the midway point of the Big 12 season. Each team roughly 6 games to play. We're going to re-tier the Big 12 teams coming up in the 4 o'clock hour. We tiered them before the season. We tiered them at the quarter pole. We'll tier them again at the midway point. That's coming up to start the 4 o'clock hour. But we're also giving out our halfway mark awards. These are our offensive, defensive player of the year awards, coach of the year awards thus far for the Big 12 conference. Offensive player of the year, I'll start. I'm giving the nod to Cam Scattaboo of Arizona State because he is the Arizona State offense. With due respect to Sam Leavitt, who the redshirt freshman has been better than I thought he would be, a dual threat kind of quarterback. But Arizona State is 5-1. I wasn't sure they'd win 2 total games, and they're 2-1 in the conference. And Cam Scattaboo is why. He leads the conference in yards from scrimmage. He leads the conference in plays from scrimmage. He's touched the ball 152 times on offense. That is 22 more times than any other player in the league. He is the most important guy on the biggest surprise team in the league. So Cam Scattaboo is my offensive player of the year for the first half.
I think Cam Scattaboo is a great pick. I went with Teteroa McMillan, who obviously had maybe the best individual game of any offensive player early in the season for Arizona when he had, 200 yards or whatever it ended up being early in the season. I think he's the best wide receiver in the country. And there are some good candidates. I said before the season, I thought that was Luther Burden. Burden's been kind of banged up for Missouri, though. I think McMillan is the best wide receiver in the country. I know Arizona has been something of at least a slight disappointment, not terribly disappointing, but also maybe not quite as good as we thought they would be. And I think if you've got the best player at a crucial position on your team, you got to go with that guy. So I'm going with T-Mac.
I'm going with RJ Harvey, the running back for UCF. He this year has 6.4 an attempt of nearly 700 yards on 108 carries and leads the Big 12 in rushing touchdowns with 9.
His team stinks.
Yes.
Is that a problem at all that his team stinks?
No, but I mean, he has the same number of rush attempts as one of the best running backs in the conference, DJ Giddens, but DJ Giddens only has 2 touchdowns.
Giddens also has nearly 100 more yards and is averaging a yard more per attempt as well.
I thought about going with Giddens. Had KU not completely hit the skids, I also would have been considering Devin Neal. But
if he had more touchdowns, I would have gone with Giddens.
Yeah,
I think 9 touchdowns, like when you're the offense, like you're a lot of it, like you're recognized.
He has the most scrimmage touchdowns of any player in the league. He's got 11. He's got 3 more than Scattaboo. So certainly in terms of his touchdown scoring, he's been the most prolific guy in the conference. Defensive players of the year. We'll go reverse order. Brendan, who's your guy?
All right. My defensive player of the year, I'm going with Brendan Mott. Spencer, you and I are, I think, of the same mind here. Leads the conference in sacks, man.
Yeah.
And that's a big deal in this conference. And that pretty simple for me. I think your pick is a very good and obvious choice as well. But dude leads the conference in sacks. That's a big deal.
8 tackles for loss to go with those 6.5 sacks as well.
The 8 tackles for loss, along with the sacks, like he just does it all. And whenever you watch a Kansas State game and they're on defense, I swear you hear his name half the time.
No, you're right about that. And I think it also helps his case too. They need the defensive line to be even better than it's been because the secondary has taken a step back.
I'm very proud of Brendan Mott in the sense that I was an early adopter on the Brendan Mott is going to be really good this year.
Yes,
I know.
you were?
Yeah, I think with 1 sack last year, maybe not even any. I think it was 1 as a starter. And I said, nah, he still got it in him. He's going to be the guy. And he has been the guy. And I think that's a great pick from both of you guys. I really do. I think he's going to be in the conversation. He's playing like a first team all-conference defender. I went with Travis Hunter of Colorado because you saw what the secondary for Colorado looked like without him against Kansas State.
I'd argue with that.
Yesterday. Most impactful, I believe, defensive player maybe in the country. Nobody throws his way. When they do, it doesn't go well. He has 2 picks. And also he's doing that while carrying a full offensive load. By the way, good news for Colorado. It sounds like both Hunter and Jimmy Horn Jr. are going to be back for their game against Arizona on Saturday. So those injuries that caused them to miss the majority of their game against Kansas State are not long-term injuries, which is good for the Buffaloes.
By the way, if you're playing the football immaculate grid and you get Packers Jets, people are gonna put Rodgers and Adams and Lazard and all these other modern day ones. Joe Mott, Brendan's dad, played 2 games with the Packers in 1993, spent the first 2 years of his career with the Jets.
There you go.
That's a good one.
0.00001%.
I always go with Bubba Franks.
Oh, God, I love Bubba Franks.
Anyhow,
as a kid, how do you not love a player named Bubba?
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Great point. Anyhow, we are all in agreement on the coach of the year, which is surprising to me because I think there are a lot of really good candidates for Big 12 coach of the year.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, but I think it's as easy as they have now won one more game than they did a year ago in the second year in the Big 12.
Yeah, Kalani Sitake's the pick, the unanimous pick in this room. And that's with all due respect to Kenny Dillingham at Arizona State.
Yeah.
That's with all due respect to Matt Campbell doing something that is a 100-year event for Iowa State, which is starting 6-0. They do it once every 100 years. Respect to those teams. Certainly, Texas Tech is 5-1 and perfect in the conference. Joey McGuire deserves some credit for that as well. But, Kalani Sitake's got BYU number 13 in the country right now. And that is a team that most people thought would be in the bottom 3-4 of the league going into the season.
I mean, we were worried about his job security.
We really were. And like, I think Sitake's a good coach, and I agree. He's a good fit there. But if it didn't turn, because it was not good in year one. It wasn't good for anybody really in year one of the newcomers last year.
Hey, if he had been playing like the 2023 version of Jake Retzlaff or any version of Jerry Bohannon right now, I don't think we're having this conversation. But something improved somewhere, and you've got to give the head coach credit for that.
They're also second to the conference in scoring defense, which is the big deal. Like that's where I was really surprised.
Yep.
And I didn't know that they had the dudes on defense the way that they do. They've got the second best scoring defense behind Iowa State in the conference. So unanimous selection there of Kalani Sitake for Big 12 Coach of the Year. We'll re-tier the teams in the conference coming up in a bit. First, short round of Random Question Tuesday to wrap up this hour of 5A Sports Talk. Random question Tuesday time. Brendan, you got one for us?
Do you guys prefer your chili more soupy or solid?
That is
that's very random.
Yeah.
I had chili the last 2 nights. My wife made it. It's very good. My wife makes a very good chili, but her chili is like a soup. Like there's broth with meat and tomato and beans and stuff in it, but it's a soup. Whereas, like if you eat it
it's a little more broth, broth forward, you would say, than the
forward.
Okay.
Whereas, like if you are eating,
I like a meat forward chili.
Yeah, like the Hormel out of a can, or you go to Wendy's or something like that.
Yeah, I like a meat forward chili more so than a broth forward.
Yeah,
I generally do too. Again, no criticism to my wife. She's a wonderful cook, and her chili's very good. But it is much more of a soup. She came back at me when I said that the other night. She said, that's just eating pasta sauce. And I thought, well, I would do
that. Clayton says in the YouTube live chat, likes his chili hot. Where do you come down on that? Do you like the spicy chili or
give me a medium?
Yeah, I'll do some spice on mine.
We're getting close. Like it's feeling like we might actually get some chili weather soon.
All right, what else do you put on? Like you have just plain chili. You get the option to put beans in it or not. Are you putting them in? And what else are you putting on your chili?
You have to have beans in the chili.
Have to have
100%. Yeah.
Beans for you too?
Yeah.
Gotta have beans in the chili. A little bit of crushed like Fritos or whole Fritos if you don't crush them.
Fritos scoops and you scoop it out. That's what I do.
Ooh, that's a good choice. Little cheese on the top. I'm not big on the sour cream. My wife likes the sour cream.
I've never even heard of that on chili. Ew.
Yeah, just give it. I guess it gives it a little sweetness. It's not for me.
I don't like sour cream in general.
Yeah, I'm not a big sour cream guy. It very selective on when I like my sour cream.
I only eat sour cream at Taco Bell, and that's only because I know if I ask for something special, they'll get it wrong.
We a yay or nay on green chili, fellas?
Man, no.
I don't think I've ever had that.
Man.
Green salsa from a chili, yes. Green chili with an I don't think so.
My mom does a really good green chili. I need to try and duplicate the recipe sometime.
I'll try it.
This has been Talking Chili on 580 Sports Talk. Coming up, we re-tier the Big 12 teams, and we talked to Michael Swain, Jayhawk Weekly. That's coming up in the 4 o'clock hour, 580 Sports Talk. Let's get it, 580 Sports Talk, hour number 2 on this Tuesday afternoon. Hope everybody's having a great one out there. Hope we're helping make it better for you here on 580 Sports Talk. Thanks for listening on 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com. And thanks to those who are watching us live on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk, or on our Facebook page, WIBW News. I'm Dan Lucero. Brendan Dworzinski and Spencer Dupuis are here as well. The Power Trio taking you through your Tuesday.
We don't usually, when we're hyping up a big show, like, oh, we have this sick guest joining. Oh, we're previewing a game. We're recapping something, whatever. Don't usually hype up headlines. I'm telling you right now, though, there are so many headlines today.
Headlines.
This is
stacked.
A massive day of news.
It really is. Yeah.
They just keep coming.
And I just saw the thing that you just put in. I just saw it because it just broke like a moment ago. It is hysterical to me. It is funny. Really, really funny. And I'm looking forward to being able to comment on that later on.
Yes, it is.
And if you want to know what we're talking about at 5:06, you will be able to hear today's 580 Sports Talk headlines.
Yeah, hang around for headlines in the 5 o'clock hour. We'll talk some baseball in the 5 o'clock hour. We'll get back to some Royals. We'll get to some Chiefs as well. Coming up this hour, Jayhawk Weekly at the bottom of the hour with Michael Swain of Fog.net, 24/7 Sports Network. He will join us to talk all things KU. They're coming off the bye week. Can the season be salvaged for the Jayhawks in the back half of the Big 12 season? And we'll talk some hoops, too, because KU's ranked number 1. What could go wrong? We'll talk to Michael Swain.
Undefeated.
Coming up bottom of the hour.
Will not be anything but number 1 all season.
I mean,
Hunter Dickinson 2020 year?
Like points and rebounds, you mean?
Yes.
Okay.
Whole team, entire team, starting 5. All-Americans?
I want to ask Michael about Bill Self saying he doesn't want to play his guys 30 minutes a night this year.
Michael, is that a gigantic lie or an enormous lie?
Michael, where would you put the odds of that being true? 0% or 0%?
Our buddy CJ Moore of The Athletic called that out immediately when that was reported on Twitter yesterday.
You got to play him. You got to play him 36 minutes against whatever Ivy they've got this year.
Oh man, what Ivy is it? I don't think it's Harvard again.
Do they have an Ivy?
Yeah. I think so. It's always the game right before Christmas. When they play an Ivy, but now, I mean, KU plays an insane schedule this year. KU is playing, Brown.
How about that?
The Brown Bears.
Chris Berman's alma mater.
Yes, it is Chris Berman's alma mater.
Chris Berman's a Brown Bear. Anyhow, we'll get to some KU stuff. We got What Is Wrong With You coming up. We're going to tier the Big 12 teams, but first, we're going to give you another key word for the ultimate European getaway. Dreaming of a trip to Italy?
Mamma mia.
What about Paris?
Ooh la la.
Or seeing Big Ben up close in London? What about all three?
I love imperialism. I don't know what they would say.
We're giving away in it.
Oi.
Bloody hell, in it.
Right mental.
It's coming home, isn't it? In it.
An absolute firecracker.
We're giving away a 10-day trip to Europe to one lucky winner just for entering the daily winning words on our website. Don't miss your chance at the ultimate Europe getaway. You just have to go to 580WIBW.com. The link is on the top left of the page. Click the link, enter the keyword, but you have this hour to enter this keyword. Next hour is going to be a new keyword. This hour's keyword, city, C-I-T-Y, city. City.
We built this city on rock and roll.
As in Manchester City. Bloody hell, Man City. In it.
Not to be confused with Luton Town.
No.
Are there any other British soccer teams with city in the name?
Yes. Leicester City.
I've got a whole list. Right. Oh, wait, this is just a Sporkle. No, I don't want Sporkle. I want the answers.
That's tough.
That's not helpful.
That's tough.
Bro.
Boomba City? I mean, this is across the world.
Yeah.
Melbourne City?
That's
Bradford City.
Yes, Bradford City. I think they had a stadium disaster there. I think their stadium burned down.
Birmingham City FC?
Yeah, Birmingham City.
Bristol, Coventry,
yeah.
Cardiff. Cardiff City.
Yeah, Cardiff City. They're in Wales. Yeah,
Yes.
Bradford City, their stadium burned down in 1985. A lot of people died. Very sad.
Wow, that's horrible.
And in the U.S., New York City FC.
Yes,
there you go.
Owned by the same people that own Manchester City. I always got a big kick out of, if you've ever driven on Southwest 29th Street here in Topeka.
A time or two.
Between Urish and Wanamaker.
Many times, in fact.
There are like a collection of streets in the neighborhoods over there that all sound like they are English soccer teams, all part of the English Football League pyramid, like Tutbury Town Road. You tell me Tutbury Town doesn't have a match scheduled against Derby County? Staffordshire, Lincolnshire, Swanfold.
No, you're straight up correct about that. That is extremely true.
I'm telling you.
Tutbury Town Road.
Gainsborough.
Kings Row.
Yeah, I'm saying. I don't know what it is about the neighborhood there off of 29th between Urish and Wanamaker, but all those street names.
Whitley.
Yeah, all those street names sound like soccer teams.
No, that's fact.
English soccer teams. Anyway, that's extremely locals only content here on 580 Sports.
They obviously had to do this on purpose.
I'm gonna hijack this conversation. By the way, can I tell you something that pisses me off?
Sure, go for it.
The names of the neighborhoods in Overland Park.
Okay.
Every single one of them is so pretentious it drives me insane. Oh, Nottingham Villas, bro. You're in suburban Kansas City. You don't live in Nottingham Villas or whatever the hell you're trying to call your neighborhood. It drives me up a wall. They're all very pretentious, and it bothers me. That's it.
Okay.
Hijacking over. I've returned the plane to its rightful pilot. They just bother me.
So, like, that's suburban living for you. I mean, come on. You're from LaGrange Park, Illinois. You're telling me you didn't have some neighborhoods with some ridiculous names that you live nearby or maybe in?
No, I don't even know what technically my neighborhood was called. They're all like Forest Hills, Forest Drive. Did you know we have a forest preserve? Hey, look, the forest preserve. Like, that's what all of them were.
Where I last lived at my first radio job, there was a neighborhood. They all had like French Quarter names. Yeah.
Appropriate for being very, very far from Louisiana and from France.
Oh yeah. And yeah, it was the high class area, you know.
Here we go.
They had to.
Birchwood Hills. Give me a break. Bel Air Heights. Dog. Johnson County is not Sherman Oaks, okay?
The keyword is city. Go enter 580WIBW.com. Go win a trip to Europe where places are named that, and it makes more sense.
Yes.
Let's tier the Big 12 team, shall we? So this is an exercise that we did before the Big 12 football season began. We tiered the teams. Use the website tiermaker.com. If you're online, you've probably seen people make tiers of teams. We did it before the season began. Then we did it 3 games into the season, the quarter poll, if you will. Now that we're at the midway point of the Big 12 football season, it's time to reassess, because there's a lot to reassess. This has been a very unpredictable year in the Big 12. I think we can all agree on that particular stipulation going in, is that when we began this season, I don't think anybody would have predicted that the current conference standings have BYU, Iowa State, and Texas Tech sitting atop the league at undefeated, and Utah and Arizona and UCF sitting at 1-2, and Oklahoma State and Kansas sitting at 0-3. Like, there is a lot that has been unpredictable about this Big 12 football season. So it is time to take a step back and reassess and gather ourselves and re-tier the Big 12 teams. I'm going to go first. And if you are watching along with us on 580 Sports Talk YouTube channel or on WIBW News, you're able to see the tiers in full as we discuss them. So if you're listening now and you're not able to watch us, maybe you're out driving, you want to catch this later on, you're more than welcome to check out the archived video on our Facebook page or on YouTube. Again, the channel is 580 Sports Talk. I'm going to begin with my Big 12 tiers. I'm going to start at the top in the record doesn't lie tier. And that's BYU and Iowa State, who I know are undefeated. Do I think either of those teams could win a playoff game? I don't. I mean, you can't dismiss what they have accomplished, right? Like, they are 6-0. They don't play each other. They have pretty forgiving schedules on the back half. It would not be in the least bit surprising if that is your conference championship game. It wouldn't at this point.
No, it would not.
Do I think those are the two best teams in the conference, like on balance? Like the season we get is the season we get, right? The schedule you get is the schedule you get, and the circumstances you get are the circumstances you get. But man for man, player for player, do I think those are the two best teams in the conference? I don't. But the record doesn't lie.
Mm-hmm.
They're 6-0 for a reason. And the reason for both teams, they play hellacious defense and they don't beat themselves on offense. And that's a pretty simple formula for winning football. If you don't have capital D dudes, and I don't really think that Iowa State and BYU have a whole lot of capital D dudes in the way that, like, some of these other teams in this conference have dudes.
Mm-hmm.
But if you play really good defense and you force a bunch of turnovers and you don't beat yourself, you win a lot of football games.
Yes, you do.
That's where BYU and Iowa State are for me. Teams that, and I don't come at this from a place where I don't feel like I'm disrespecting these teams in saying this. That I think that, like, if they played Kansas State or Utah 10 times, I wouldn't expect either of those two teams to win more than half of those matchups. But they're where they are. They deserve to be where they are, and they've got a really good chance of being there at the end of the season, just given the way their schedule is broken. So the record doesn't lie tier at the very top, BYU and Iowa State. My second tier is the Arlington or bust tier. These are teams that are good enough to get to the conference championship game. It will feel like a disappointment if they do not. Kansas State is in that tier for me, the second tier right now. I have Utah in that tier, even at 1 and 2 in the conference. I think that knowing now that they aren't going to have Cam Rising for the rest of the year, we mentioned it yesterday, and it was confirmed like 10 minutes after we went off the air. Cam Rising's injury is season-ending. He is not going to play again for the Utah Utes in 2024.
Such a bummer.
I think that helps them because now they know what to expect on a week-to-week basis. Now they don't have to play quarterback roulette. They don't have to play the shell game with who's it going to be. They give the job to Isaac Wilson. They have gone on the road to hostile environments and won with Isaac Wilson. They went to Oklahoma State and they won and dominated with Isaac Wilson. I still think that's a team that's dangerous in the second half. I don't think they're going to lose a lot of games in the second half, but they're going to need to win out and they're going to need help to get to Arlington. And it will feel like a disappointment, given all the talent they have, if they don't get there. So that's why they're still in my Arlington or bust tier, along with Kansas State, who honestly right now I still think they're the best team in the conference. Contender adjacent is my third tier. That's where I have Arizona State, Texas Tech, and West Virginia, who is 2-1 in the conference. And if they had played like replacement level non-conference opponents and not Penn State and Pitt in the non-conference, they'd probably be 5-1 right now. And we'd have to take them a little bit more seriously than we do. All of those teams have good conference records, and that's a nice head start for them. I don't believe any of those three teams has any realistic chance of going to Arlington. I don't.
I would agree with that.
So those are my contender adjacent teams. My fourth tier is the, hey, a bowl game tier. Colorado and Cincinnati are both 4-2, and that makes them more likely than not, I think, to go to bowl games, especially because their schedules in the second half, like not monstrous schedules. Both of those teams are going to bowls. That's a big step forward for Scott Satterfield in year 2. That's a massive accomplishment for Colorado, who hasn't been to a bowl that really counted. I know they went to Alamo Bowl in the fake year 2020. They haven't really been to a bowl game in a long time. Even 6-6 with some fun players. They're having a good time in Boulder. I'll give them that.
Yeah.
So that's the, hey, a bowl game tier. Then I have the, can we get a do-over tier? Kansas is in that tier. It will surprise you to know. Also,
I'm actually not surprised.
I also have Oklahoma State and Arizona in that tier. These are three teams that fancied themselves real live contenders for a Big 12 championship, and it has gone really wrong. It has gone more wrong for Kansas than for those other teams, but it has gone really wrong for both of those teams. And Arizona, maybe it's recoverable. I don't know that it is for two teams that are 0-3 in league play.
I was going to say, I think it's just as bad for Oklahoma State, honestly.
No, it's, I mean, to be 0-3 in the league with the preseason Heisman favorite on your team and he can't get going.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, that's big. It's been a real disappointing year. So that's my can we get a do-over tier. And finally, I have the Ruben Rabasa on I think you should leave saying stinky. I have the stinky tier. And that's Baylor, Houston, UCF, and TCU. Varying degrees of stinky there, of course, but stinky is stinky.
Yeah, hard to argue with that. Yeah, no qualms with that.
That is my tier. That's how I broken down the Big 12 teams.
All right. For my tiers, I've got 6 here. We have some overlap, but although I'm actually pretty pleased. We have a good melange of how we ordered these teams. So at the top, I've got my favorites, and I think there are 3 right now. They have earned this because of how they have played, what they have accomplished, what the rest of the schedule looks like, etc. Those are the Kansas State Wildcats, the Iowa State Cyclones, and the BYU Cougars. And I think for those latter 2 teams, especially for BYU, you are what your record says you are. They keep winning. I can't take that away from them. They are doing a great job there. I liked Iowa State going into the year. I do feel vindicated. Now, granted, we could still see a meltdown. That is still certainly possible, but I like that Iowa State team a lot. They are clearly playing really well, and K-State's the best team in the league right now. Second tier, can't shake a nagging feeling tier. Texas Tech and Arizona State are the only 2 programs I have in this tier. Are they both good right now? Yes. You, again, are what your record says
both
that you
teams
are.
5-1.
Arizona State keeps winning. You hear me say every single week when we pick Big 12 games that I love Kenny Dillingham as a coach. Cam Scadaboo is awesome, etc. Sam Levitt has been playing good ball as well. Can't help but think that at some point that's going to come crashing down. There are some underlying numbers with Arizona State that are not so rosy and indicate they should be not as good as they are on both sides of the ball, defense especially. Can't quite shake that they're outperforming their actual quality of play. Same with Texas Tech. Nothing about Tech has really gripped me while watching the Raiders this year, and credit to them for still finding ways to win. Who cares what the metrics say if you are winning? But there's just something about this team that I don't find particularly trustworthy. It's more hunch than anything analytical, but those are in my can't shake a nagging feeling tier. Number 3, also just 2 teams. Respectable. Good for them. Cincinnati and Colorado. Both better than I thought they would be. Going to bowl games. Neither one is going to play for a Big 12 championship. Both will probably win a handful of more games this season. I would imagine each will have at least one. How the hell did you lose that game the rest of the way? Because everything with Colorado and also Scott Satterfield. Yeah. But good for them. Respect. Easy enough there. Next up, we're getting to the bottom half now. Should have aimed lower tier. Arizona, TCU, UCF. Arizona, I think we probably overhyped given the fact they didn't actually lose that much considering they had a coaching change and a huge breakout year a year ago.
But the coaching change was a much bigger deal than
It was. And I don't think Jed Fish is incredible. Go watch Washington. They got coaching issues. And I like Brent Brennan, but you change your scheme anytime, it is hard to adapt right away. So sure. Arizona probably should have aimed a little bit lower. TCU, I think it was kind of a consensus opinion on this show. We didn't really know what to make of them going into the season, other than I didn't trust Josh Hoover. That was the only thing I was sure of. They are not fun. They play fun games because they can't stop anyone, and they still score a bit, but they're not all that good.
No.
And UCF, I don't know, man. I really thought they were going to be
way wrong on UCF.
Yeah, I don't think they are like miserable, but their bad is really bad.
Yeah.
For the point that you've brought up a couple of times recently, that they still don't have the same kind of bodies that even an Iowa State or a Texas Tech has. Then we go to the irreparable tier. These are teams that I think they cannot be fixed this year. They may still have a decent end of the year, but in terms of what their original season goals were, they cannot be fixed. Utah's on this tier for me, and here's the reason why. They might still win 8 games. That's a good year for most programs. They thought they were going to the playoffs.
Yeah, that's 4 conference losses.
They were the odds-on favorite to win the conference this year, and their quarterback has a broken body. And Wilson's young, he can get better, but they lost Rising. That so much depended on him. West Virginia is here because Neil Brown is a clown, and you can't fix that midseason. It is what it is. And Oklahoma State doesn't have a quarterback.
Yeah.
Bowman's just been bad.
Oh, Alan Bowman, good or just old? The answer with Bowman is old.
It's old. Yeah, he is Sean Clifford-itis. Finally, not worth the energy. This is me being a defeatist, fatalist KU fan. I admit it. KU is in this tier. Until they prove that they are worth the time and energy, they are not worth the time and energy. I hate saying it, but it's true. Baylor and Houston, because they're both ass.
Yeah.
They suck. They're very, very bad. I have more credit to Houston, though, because we knew they'd be bad, and they have a new coach. Dave Aranda, I hope you have gotten LinkedIn Prime.
Is that a thing?
I think it's LinkedIn Gold,
LinkedIn
technically.
Plus, maybe?
Yeah.
All right, Spencer, let's run through your tiers.
All right, college football playoff contenders. I got BYU and Kansas State. I think they're going to be the 2 teams at the end of the year that are fighting for the spot.
That would be fun.
Yeah,
I love that matchup.
And I'm sure K-State would love a rematch.
Oh, yeah.
I think you would sorry to slow you down, Spencer, but I think you would legitimately get half purple, half blue in Arlington.
Oh, yeah.
I'm kind of, you know what? I'm rooting for this now. I'm officially rooting for K-State versus BYU.
I got chasing Arlington as my second tier. Iowa State, Texas Tech, Arizona State. I think there's a shot in there a little bit. It's not zero.
Why do you like BYU better than you like Iowa State?
I don't like BYU better than I like Iowa State.
Then why are they a contender but not Iowa State?
No, I like BYU more than I like
Iowa State.
Yes.
That's what I'm asking. Why?
Why? Because I think Iowa State are frauds.
Okay. Simple enough.
I don't think they can make it in. I mean, yeah, they're undefeated right now, but they won't finish the season undefeated.
I think I had a stroke just now.
Next tier, go.
Play spoiler, Arizona, Colorado, Utah. I think they have a chance to play spoilers to potentially somebody on this list above them. I have a list of 4 of bad teams, just bad. Oklahoma State, Baylor, TCU, and Houston. I think we can all agree that they're just bad.
You watched the first quarter of Oklahoma State at West Virginia. Yeah, you would put them in that class. Yes.
Then my next tier is a case study for what happened, and that's Kansas. Like, what happened? Like, how? Can we get an explanation, a scientific explanation as to what happened?
Was it with the Fred Willard bit? What happened?
That's pretty funny.
Get the LinkedIn updated for Gus Malzahn and for Neil Brown. And then I don't know. I'm not a Cincinnati guy. I don't know how to grade Cincinnati.
Yeah,
season.
Cincinnati is very strange to me too.
So I just have them as IDK.
Yeah, I have no idea what to make.
No, I think that is
entirely a fair place.
Yes,
a fair place to rank them. Those are our Big 12 tiers. If you agree or disagree, hit us up. YouTube live comments. The top emails fly text line 785-272-9429. We got to take a break. What is wrong with you's next on 580 Sports Talk. Two new stories competing on What Is Wrong With You. Our current champion, listener Paul, in the YouTube comments dubbed it Power Hour Wheels, as a guy got drunk and operated a little Power Wheels Jeep. He was also on meth.
Whoops.
51 years old, driving a Power Wheels down the road. They don't have real lights on them, so it was very hard to see at night.
or even reflective tape or stickers or anything.
In fairness, he was drunk and high on meth. So that is our current weekly champion. I'll go first today. We're going to Massachusetts, and we have people who don't know what civil rights are. We meet Dale and Jennifer Harris, who are parents suing their son's high school, claiming his civil rights were violated after he was punished for using AI to write a paper for history class. The parents claim the high school punished their son too harshly for using AI to complete the paper. The incident took place last December when the Harris family said their son, a junior at the time, used AI to help with research and note-taking for a project for his AP US history class. The student's use of AI was ultimately discovered because it's really easy to tell what is and what isn't artificial intelligence, because AI, as it is currently operating, is mostly sludgy garbage.
Hey, AI, who is the president of the United States? Oh, yeah, George Washington.
Yes. How do you make a good crust for your pizza? Well, one thing you could do is put glue in it. AI is only as smart as the crap we feed it. So anyhow, the student's use of AI was discovered because, of course, it was. So he got a 0 for the project's notes and draft portions, brought his overall grade down to a 65%, led the student to end with a C+ in class, barred him from the National Honor Society, gave him a Sunday detention. In my opinion, they violated his civil rights.
Don't be these parents. If you have kids, don't be these parents. Dan, don't be these parents.
No, I will not be these parents. Number one, I know that civil rights don't cover your cheating on your work because you used AI to write a paper.
Dude,
do the work.
Being a teacher who teaches kids old enough to use AI must suck. Like all you're doing now is just combating people cheating.
Well, you saw the commercial during the Olympics that was so bad. Hey, my daughter idolizes Sydney McLaughlin. Let's use AI to write a letter to her claiming how much that she inspires my daughter.
Horrendous.
Yes, awful. It's not going anywhere good. I'm just saying that. I'm on my soapbox a little bit about AI. It ain't taking us anywhere good. I'm telling you right now. And it's a bubble, and it's going to burst. It's not here forever. It's not going to replace people. It's garbage. It's glurge. It's nonsense, and it's a bubble, and it will burst. Brendan, what is wrong with you?
All right, we are going to Australia, Victoria to be specific, where the police chief commissioner has apologized to the Jewish community after a veteran sergeant allegedly performed a Nazi salute to colleagues at the police academy twice this week. A 65-year-old woman was suspended with pay. Come on.
How did they know it was a Nazi salute, Brendan?
Well, she was suspended after the police launched a criminal investigation into the alleged incidents, which included her allegedly saying "Hail Hitler" on both occasions. The woman had been in the police force for 40 years and was recently posted in the People Development Command Training Center. On Tuesday, the sergeant allegedly approached 2 employees, performed the Nazi salute, and said, "Hail Hitler." The sergeant allegedly again used the salute and phrase Wednesday while at a debrief with a recruit squad and an instructor. She was interviewed on Saturday by professional standards detectives. She was released without charge at this stage. The investigation is ongoing. She is expected to be charged on summons. If charged, she faces up to 12 months imprisonment or 23,000 Australian dollars in fines. Patton said the members found guilty of similar conduct face a very strong chance of being dismissed. 40 years. And you're throwing it away for that.
Wild.
Doesn't make a lick of sense.
Nope.
You know, there was a recent poll that came out, and 11% of respondents said that Hitler had some good ideas. Hitler had one good idea, and it was killing himself, and he should have done it way earlier than he did. That wins today, but I much prefer the lightheartedness of a drunken high man driving a Power Wheels.
Yes, I think that's very funny.
Yes, Power Hour Wheels survives and moves on to the next day on What Is Wrong With You. Coming up next, Michael Swain of Fog.net for Jayhawk Weekly. Michael Swain of Fog.net, part of the 24/7 Sports Network, joining us for Jayhawk Weekly on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits Hotline, as he does every Tuesday at this time. You can check out his work again at Fog.net. Become a VIP subscriber today. You can also find Michael on Twitter at mswain247. Well, we don't have a KU loss in football to talk about because they didn't play last week, but as they prepare for a home game against Houston on Saturday, I thought Lance Leipold was very reflective in his media availability on Monday. What are the things that he has pointed out that are going to be what Kansas has to do better to turn some of these close losses into wins in the second half of this season?
Yeah, I don't think it's reinventing the wheel, honestly. You know, if you've watched KU the last 6 weeks, you can see what's going wrong. And I think Leipold did a pretty good job of summing it up, really. On offense, you know, KU's been solid, but maybe being a little bit better on first down, and the turnovers have really been areas for improvement, right? You look last year, KU had 11 interceptions through the entire season. Jalen Daniels had 8 through the first 6 games of the season, right? That's not very good. And if you're turning the ball over, you see it across the Big 12 and college football for that matter. You turn the ball over, it's really hard to win football games, especially when you are losing that turnover battle on a consistent basis. Look no further than Houston's game against TCU. TCU turned the ball over 4 times. Houston didn't. Houston won that game for their first Big 12 win. So, you know, for KU offensively, right, that's what it comes down to. Can you put yourself in better positions on second and third down? And then can you just not turn the ball over? And I think KU did a better job of that, right, against Arizona State. And even to some degree against TCU, you know, at the end of the day, you throw an interception late in the game. It's not great, but for most of that game, KU did a good job of taking care of the ball. So those are the areas on offense. On defense, look, Leipold didn't talk about it, but KU's run defense needs to be better. And it sounds like Cornell Wheeler will be doubtful for this week. That's really big because I think there's a huge difference in what you've seen from KU's run defense when Cornell has been healthy and when Cornell has not been healthy. And I think KU really needs him back. And then obviously there's the pass rush stuff. And KU's lack of pass rush, you know, at the defensive end spots is really making an impact because KU is not getting sacks. They're really not getting that much pressure. And last year, I think what made guys like Kobe Bryant and Melo Dotson get the opportunity to make so many plays is the fact that there was a pass rush. Austin Booker was getting in the backfield and really creating some havoc where quarterbacks had to make quick decisions. And sometimes those decisions weren't right, and KU's cornerbacks were able to take advantage. And so I think defensively, it really comes down to, can KU stop the run better, especially at the linebacker position? And can they get after the quarterback? If they can do those things better in the second half of the season, KU's going to be able to turn some of those close losses into close wins.
A home game against Houston would have been one that we all circled as probably an easy win for Kansas when we were looking at the 2024 schedule back in August. But Houston has a conference win and KU doesn't. So I don't think you take anything for granted at this point if you're KU. But is this a matchup where Kansas should have some advantages and be able to get that first conference win?
Yeah, I think so. Man, if you watch the TCU Houston game, Obviously, Houston comes away with the win, but really outside of their kind of strong first half, they didn't do a whole lot in the second half, and that's with them winning the turnover battle 4-0. Obviously, the quarterback Chris is going to start this week, and he's a really really good athlete. 6'3", pulled off a 75-yard or 71-yard quarterback draw for a touchdown. He's going to give KU some issues, and I mentioned the linebacker play for KU. That's where I'm really concerned. But then you look at kind of Houston's offensive line; it ranks towards the bottom of the FBS in terms of pass blocking. I'm not really impressed by Houston's wide receivers or running backs. So this is a game for KU defensively where if they can contain the quarterback, scramble, you'd like to think that they can at least hold Houston to under 28-ish points. And then on the other end, Houston's defense is pretty solid. If you look at their defensive line and their front seven, they do a very good job of limiting explosive plays. And on the back end, they've had a good game against Hoover with a couple interceptions, but that's not been a back end that has consistently created turnovers. So this is, for me, is a game where it's like it's two bad units in KU's defense and Houston's offense, and then two, decent units, right? I think in some regards, probably top half, maybe even top third of Big 12 units in KU's offense and Houston's defense. And I'm sure KU fans are going to react to, oh my gosh, not top third offense. Look, you look at the run game, what KU's done. You look at some of the pass game stuff they've done the last 2 weeks. It's been better, and it's been closer to the top third than the bottom half. So for KU, right, this is a game where if you can take care of the ball and you can get the run game going against Houston's defense, that's really going to open some stuff up for you. And so I think those are going to be some big keys for KU.
Michael Swain is our guest. He covers the Kansas Jayhawks over at fog.net and 24/7 Sports, where you should go be a VIP because it is the best way to get all the inside scoop on what's going on with KU football and basketball. You can follow Michael as well on Twitter at mswain247. He joins us every Tuesday at this time on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline. I know there was no game this past week, Michael, but given the way he played against Arizona State and in the game or two prior to that, do you think Jalen Daniels is trending in a positive direction?
I think so. I think you've seen less thinking maybe over the last couple weeks. You look at TCU and Jalen didn't make some great throws, and I think he struggled to execute on some of those big passes. But if Quinn Skinner doesn't drop that deep bomb, if that was a terrible call on Lawrence Arnold on that third down, you look at a couple plays and if the wide receivers make those plays more cleanly, probably talking a little bit of a different game for KU. And then against Arizona State, that wasn't on Jalen. He made the big throws when he had to make them. And I think the fact that the deep passing game showed up again is really important because I think we've seen over the last couple of years when KU's offense has been great, it is when the deep passing game is hitting because it opens up the box for guys like Devin Neal, and it's a two-way street there where then you're forcing teams to defend you multiple ways. So I am encouraged by what Jalen has shown. I want to see more. I want to see it more consistently, first and foremost, because consistency has been his issue. There have been bright spots throughout every game this season. It's just a question of how low are those lows. And I think if Jalen can get to the point where those lows are, you miss a throw, once every 3 drives, then you're in a really good spot. And so I am encouraged. I think this is a really big week to build some confidence heading into the Sunflower Showdown.
Is KU going to win this weekend?
Dude, I don't know. I'd love to come on here and be like, yeah, guys, KU's going to win. Nothing I've seen this year is putting me in a position where I can say, yes, Kansas is for sure going to win this weekend. Like, if you like made me pick, I think KU will win because I think they're going to be just flat out better than Houston in the trenches. And that's going to take you a long way if your quarterback doesn't throw the ball to the other team 3 times. So, I think KU will win this weekend, but man, I am not giving you a definitive this is going to happen.
I appreciate you keeping it real. I mean, I picked KU to win almost every game this year, and they make me look like an ass every single time, so I don't blame you.
Yeah, I've been in the same boat.
All right. I thought we were beyond doing this in the middle of October, but let's look ahead to basketball, shall we? Because the AP poll came out this week. We got late night on Friday. Are you going to be at late night this year?
I will be. It should be interesting. Gosh, guys, based on some of the social media discourse I've seen, I think I need to be there to see some of these new renovations that have gone in and give people maybe a good perspective of what it looks like, in person rather than just 4 photos posted online.
I think you are 100% right about that. I'm getting close to just deleting Twitter at this point, man. I can't take it anymore. KU is number 1 in the country in the preseason AP top 25. I think everybody expected KU would be in the top 5, probably the top 3. If you had a vote, would you have put KU number 1?
No. I don't think so. I look, this is a very good team. I still have questions about some of the high-minute players that are going to play, right? Is A.J. Storr going to buy in on defense and on the glass? Is Dajuan Harris going to be a game-changing player now that he's going to be 24 years old in a couple months? Can K.J. Adams develop more of a skilled game where he can't be guarded, by standing 6 feet away? Those are some big questions I have, and those are guys that are going to play big minutes for KU this year. Now, I really do feel good about the depth of this team. You look at David Coit coming in, you look at Shaquille Moore when he gets back from his injury. Like, I like the depth, but if you made me pick, like, I look at UConn and I'm like, I will. You want back-to-back national titles. You got some really good players back. I just am like, yeah, I think that probably is the number 1 team. I understand Alabama. I understand Houston. I think I'd have Kansas probably number 4 in the country to start the year. But I think a lot of times nowadays people look at the brands, they look at those transfer class rankings, and you look at the head coaches. And KU checks all 3 boxes, and I think that's why you've seen a lot of people nationally, right, go for KU in this instance.
How much should we buy into the Zeke Mayo hype? I think a lot of people, myself certainly included, know he's a Lawrence kid. He's buddies with Devin Neal, grew up a KU fan, homecoming. People want to root for him, and he was great at South Dakota State as well. And we heard from Bill Self earlier this offseason, best player we've got right now. Then yesterday it was, well, he hasn't been as good, but overall still been a very good offseason. How much should we buy into the Zeke Mayo hype?
I think I'm about like 70% bought into it. I think he's going to be a very solid player for Kansas this year. Is he going to be a all-conference player? I'm not sure. I think he's someone, though, that in terms of roster fit, having a combo guard next to Dajuan Harris, a guy that can shoot while also handling the ball, take some pressure off him, that's going to be really important. I think his basketball IQ is really going to fit with other guys like KJ Adams and Hunter Dickinson, who are also very smart basketball players. And look, this is very much, I feel like, the Bill Self cycle with players. You saw with A.J. Storr, early in the summer, it's, this is a guy that can be the best player on our team. And now it's, well, he's got to buy in on the defense, And so you're seeing the same thing with Zeke Mayo, where it's, hey, he was the best player between June and, September. Well, now we're into mid-October, and it's like, oh, well, he's not been as good as he once was. And so I think a lot of this is the, I don't know, how off seasons go, right? Guys get built up, then there's pushing to hit that another level. And this is why Bill Self is one of the greatest coaches college basketball has ever seen, because he is great at building up the confidence of players, and while also harping on things and making sure those players understand that those are the intangible things, the non-negotiable things that they need to do. So I think Zeke's going to have a really good season for KU. I really do. I think he's going to be a really good fit and is going to have the chance to make a big impact.
We're joined by Michael Swain of Fog.net and 24/7 Sports here on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits Hotline. And talking about Shaquille Moore's injury, obviously they expect him back a week, maybe at most into the season. Once he gets back, how do you think the lineup kind of shakes out? And there's been a lot of talk from Bill Self this summer about wanting to get his guys from last year that played 36 plus minutes down to like between 28 and 32. How do you think that that's actually going to transpire?
Yeah, I'm really interested to see how this plays out, especially for Dajuan, right? Because I think Self has so much trust in Dajuan to run the things he wants to run. And there's just such a great relationship between those two. It's a question of, can someone come in and kind of show that they can have that same kind of trust? And Shaquille Moore, I think we talked about guys over the summer, right? He came in and hit the ground running and was playing like the Bill Self guard in terms of really doing well defensively, really attacking off the bounce, playing smart basketball. And for me, when I look at the injury, this isn't something where it was a guy that was kind of ho-hum over the summer and you're thinking, man, you really could have used these practices. Now, this is a guy that came in and hit the ground running. And so for me, I think that's probably a more encouraging aspect if you're projecting how could Shaquille Moore's season play out. I think in all honesty, he's probably going to be kind of that 7th eighth man off the bench, depending on how Flory does, just with the way he can provide an extra defensive spark for KU, where if you put DeJuan and Shaquille on the floor together, that is a great defensive backcourt. Really great. And so I think Shaquille's going to get a lot of playing time this year. I'm really interested to see how his offensive game plays out, because I feel good about him, attacking off the bounce. But, hey, can he knock down threes consistently? Can he make the right decisions? And I think it's the same deal with David Coit coming in. I think those two are really going to provide different types of sparks, where I think Shaquille Moore, right, defense is going to be his biggest thing, where I think Coit's biggest thing is going to be his offense. And I think that's going to be perfect for Bill Self, because there are going to be some games when the other lead guard maybe is going off, and you have DeJuan Harris maybe on him, and then you still need someone to go guard the other point guard. Well, you can put Shaquille in. Well, if there's another game where, the other two guards are maybe not the most attacking-minded players, you can go in and say, all right, David, you go play and go get yourself 12 points in this game. So I think Bill Self's going to have the opportunity to play DeJuan Harris less minutes. Still, a part of me is like, I'll believe it when I see it. You saw it in 2022 at that national title season. I'll be really interested to see if it happens this year.
We got about 30 seconds, Michael. On a scale of 1 to 5 Pinocchios, how big a lie is it Bill Self saying he doesn't want to play anybody over 30 minutes a game this year?
Well, I don't think he's lying. See, I don't think he's lying. I think he's being truthful. But then when the bullets start flying, I think your instinct kicks in, where you want to have the guys you trust out there. And I think those familiar faces we've seen over the last couple of years are going to be out there.
Bullets flying makes a liar out of a lot of people, I think. That's a fact. Michael Swain of Fog.net, part of the 24/7 Sports Network, joins us every Tuesday on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline for Jayhawk Weekly. Michael, it is always a pleasure. We will talk to you next week.
Awesome. Okay.
That is Michael Swain. Turn myself off and not him. That's my bad. We'll take a break. We'll come back. We'll wrap up the hour after this. Hours just about in the books. One more to go here on 580 Sports Talk. Our thanks again to Michael Swain for joining us. I think I'll be at KU Houston on Saturday. I don't think I'll have anything hindering me from getting out there. One, cover a college game at Arrowhead Stadium. Two, they have to win on Saturday, because if they don't, where's their next win on their schedule?
Man, I don't know. I'm
like Baylor.
Yeah.
That's a road game. It's the last game of the season.
Also, I'm anticipating that the networks that be are anticipating a win this week. So this 6-day window for the Sunflower Showdown.
We love the 6-day windows, don't we, folks?
Yeah.
I think there is a lot of logic behind what you said there, Spencer. I'm going to counter with this. K-State's going to win by 4 touchdowns.
Yeah,
so I'm not really sure.
What does KU not do? Stop the run, get off the field, pressure the quarterback.
I'm calling 7:00 FS1 for that game.
Ooh, really? You think it's bumped to FS1? Well, I mean, I guess
I literally just said I think K-State might win by 4 touchdowns. Like, dude, you know how much I friggin' hate saying this? Like, I went through so much. I'm gonna swear. I gotta be careful. Like, I went through so much crap for years. We won 8 games in 4 years while I was in college, man.
I remember.
And had another winless season when I was here. And to go through godforsaken David Beatty's era as the coach. The program finally gets good, and now they're letting me down again. And it breaks my heart. And I feel bad for the players and for the coaching staff and for the athletic department that everything is falling apart at the seams. And it makes me upset. But this team's just not good right now.
And also, you have to try to fill up a NFL stadium.
Yeah, it's going to be, I don't know that I would call it a crowd.
Yeah.
What I would expect there on Saturday. Maybe a smattering.
Is
gathering.
it their homecoming?
Yes. I actually don't know.
Or was that a couple weeks ago?
So I think they plan to have Houston for homecoming.
That would be
which in theory doesn't make sense.
In theory, that does make sense.
I'm hopeful, but
2:30 kickoff on the plus on Saturday for that one.
Put it on the minus.
Headlines coming up next. Going to be a good headline segment on 580 Sports Talk. Let's get it. Third and final hour of this edition of 580 Sports Talk on this Tuesday, October 15th, 2024. Dan Lucero, Brendan Dworzinski, Spencer Dupuis with you for one more hour today. And then there's like no sports. You know how weird it is to hand it off to Dave Ramsey again? Like,
so weird.
It's very strange.
I don't like it.
It's just very strange. We'll have more sports on the Sports Voice of Kansas very soon. Chris Kleiman show tomorrow night. Thursday night football on Thursday. Obviously, high school football Friday night. We'll get back around to it. But
when is Westwood One going to start picking up Tuesday night Conference USA?
Yeah, we need Sports USA to get on that, or one of the other syndicators.
They're ugly games most of the time, though, I feel like.
There is no such thing as an ugly college football game on a midweek.
Troy, South Alabama, banger. Kennesaw State, Middle Tennessee.
Isn't there a late kickoff tonight, like a 9 o'clock kick?
8 o'clock.
8 o'clock kick.
We got some action?
Louisiana Tech, New Mexico State. No action until November.
This is Conference USA Tuesdays.
Oh, yeah, I forgot they made that media rights deal.
Yeah. Your boys are playing on a weeknight this week.
Yeah, there's going to be about no one in attendance because they went and they screwed up a 20-something point lead on Saturday night.
Yeah, so did you ever get a chance to watch the game?
No.
Because I know you were at a concert during it.
Yeah, no, I did not.
So I did not either. And then I watched Bad Beats last night. Spencer, if I were you,
I know. We got destroyed on Bad Beats.
I might, send back my degree. I got to be honest. The whole episode of Bad Beats last night, unbelievable. Marshall's was rough. I hate to pile on the herd, but it was rough. Ball State versus Kent State was a nightmare. What was
you had action on that one.
Yeah, I had show action. Thank God, not real action. Mercy. Trying to remember what the part 2 was. It was a disaster. It was truly hideous.
I missed it last night. I have to catch up. Thank you for listening to 580 Sports Talk, whether you're tuning in on 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, or if you're checking out the live video stream on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk on YouTube, or on Facebook, WIBW News. We got one more Euro trip keyword for you.
We just did the Sam Darnold mononucleosis point at the camera.
Definitely. Yes, we did.
Mono. You ever have mono?
No, I never got mono.
Yeah, me either.
Never had mono.
No.
Euro trip keyword to get you this hour. 580WIBW.com. We got the contest ongoing. You can enter the keyword this hour until 6 o'clock. This keyword is good. We'll have more keywords for you tomorrow, every hour from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. We give you the keywords during the show. This hour's keyword is, any guesses?
Bark.
No. Spencer's not paying attention. The keyword is...
He's also got the list in the studio.
Explore. You're not giving it away. I get to do it. Explore is the word. EXPLORE. Explore is the keyword. Go to 580WIBW.com. Click on the link to enter. Enter in that keyword, explore, and you could win a 10-day trip to Europe for the ultimate international vacation.
I'd gotten distracted because our favorite app has now expanded from just sports to concerts.
You're going to enter all your concerts you've been to recently onto it?
I mean, I guess. I don't know. It's kind of a beta situation. I don't know if you guys seen this.
I did see that.
Yeah.
The Memento app.
Somebody I know added the concert, and I got really confused.
I was going to say something about explore. Oh, yes. Born too late to explore the earth. Born too early to explore the stars. Born just in time to waste away on the internet.
That was profound.
That's how I would use the word explore.
Deeply moving. That's a long sentence.
Yeah. I'll run on, but still.
Anyhow.
Well, there are some commas in there. It's fine. It's not a run on.
Anyhow, the word is explore. Hit us up on the Top City Metal Supply text line this hour, 785-272-9429 to interact with the program, 785-272-9429. No more wasting money on metal pieces that leave you with unnecessary leftovers. Top City Metal Supply will cut exact lengths of aluminum, steel, and stainless steel. That's 3 different metals, by the way. Aluminum steel is not a metal. Aluminum, steel, and stainless steel. I'm an Oxford comma guy. I don't know where you guys.
Oh, I'm not. I'm anti-Oxford
comma. Big Oxford comma guy.
Big Oxford comma guy too.
Hey, 2-1. I appreciate you, Spencer. Thank you for having my back on this one. Tailor to your project specifications. Start optimizing your budget with Top City Metal Supply on South Topeka Boulevard, just north of Forbes Field. We've got a bunch of headlines to get to this hour. We're also going to talk some Royals baseball. The big domino that has to fall before the Royals really can start their offseason. Plus, there are any possibilities for a post-bye breakout on the Chiefs offense? We'll get to that as well. And we will get to headlines, but I just saw this startling headline from the world of sports. You guys remember Bo Pelini?
Of course.
You guys remember his brother?
Yeah.
Carl?
Yeah.
He's a high school head football coach.
I did not know this until today.
Somebody went to his office and beat the bejesus out of him after a game this last week.
Uh-oh.
Yes.
That's very bad.
Like, sucker punched him in the face and broke some of his ribs.
Ugh.
The report says that Pelini exchanged words with a player over concerns about a fight on the field during the game. The football player's father barged through the doors and asked who had been giving his son a hard time. Pelini told officers he told the player's father he had had words with his son. Then he got punched.
Jeez. Over high school
The
football,
report also
man.
stated that the player in question was present and alleged that he was also involved.
What?
Yeah, so father and son beat up Carl Pelini.
Jeez. That's terrible.
An incredible start to 580 Sports Talk headlines. We got a lot more really good ones, and let's jump right in. First two headlines we'll get to are the big trades for star wide receivers that have occurred in the National Football League today. This morning, the New York Jets acquired wide receiver Devontae Adams from the Las Vegas Raiders for a conditional third-round pick in 2025. The pick could improve to a second-round selection if Adams is an All-Pro or is on the active roster for the Jets in the AFC Championship game or Super Bowl. In other words, it's going to be a third-round pick that the Raiders send to the Jets. Also, Amari Cooper is a Buffalo Bill. The Bills and the Browns doing a deal today. The Bills getting Cooper and a sixth-round draft pick this coming year in exchange for a third-round pick in 2025 and a seventh-round selection in 2026.
Here is the best part about the Amari Cooper trade. This is from friend of the program, Jake Trotter, who's back to covering college football, by the way. Good for Jake. Posted this today. With the trade of Amari Cooper, backup safety Rodney McLeod is the only Browns player, including the offense, to have more than one touchdown this season. Again, Rodney McLeod is a safety. A backup safety at that. He has multiple touchdowns. No one else on the Browns does. That is horrifying.
Yeah, that's not what you want.
Genuinely awful team. Both teams got better today. I think in terms of big picture for 2024, it means more to the Bills than it does for the Jets. I agree. I think the Jets' problems are more foundational than the Bills' problems.
No, 100%. That's a great way to put it.
All right, first headline for me. Let's stay in the NFL. Tom Brady, officially, after approval at an owners' meeting today, is a minority shareholder of the Las Vegas Raiders. He has a 5% stake officially, but a total purchase of 10% by him and his unnamed business partner. He is officially done with football. He's been retired. He's been in the booth, but he is now officially done. So he is an owner of the Raiders. This has been known for a while. He's been working on this. There's been a lot of consternation in the league office about this and a lot of public scrutiny as well.
Also, they had it was on the docket at one point for a meeting, and then it wasn't, and then it was. And
so it's been a process.
Yeah.
Here are some of the restrictions now placed upon NFL A-team broadcaster Tom Brady. He is not permitted to be in another team's facility. He is not permitted to witness practice. He is not permitted to attend broadcast production meetings either in person or virtually. He is prohibited from publicly criticizing game officials and other clubs. He is subject to the NFL's gambling policy and to the anti-tampering policy. I would like to point you specifically to a couple of these. Broadcasters generally, especially at that level, are welcomed into team facilities for things like interviews and for production meetings. He will not be allowed to do
Thursdays,
that.
Fridays, sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He will not be permitted to witness practice, which broadcasters often are given
Typically
at least the reporter glimpse into. He cannot attend broadcast production meetings. Again, a problem since he is a broadcaster.
And an A-team broadcaster.
And he is prohibited from publicly criticizing officials or other clubs. Again, he is a broadcaster.
Not a very good one. Can't do all those things. And
this can't work. Like, you cannot do this.
Yeah,
so much of the stuff they have for these TV broadcasts come out of those production meetings, because TV, there's a different type of storytelling than you get for radio. And even national radio gets meetings like that. But for TV, you talk with the players, the coaches, the personnel. You learn all these things. You can share these narratives during the game. You can't do that. What good are you?
You're not. You're not any good. And if they're going to run a whole national ad campaign surrounding Tom Brady as broadcaster, with the central conceit of the advertisement, where you've seen the ad, where he is confronted with past versions of himself, the Patriots version and the Michigan version, and like a young version of Tom Brady. And the central conceit of that ad is Tom Brady has always been motivated to be the very best, and now he is motivated to be the very best broadcaster. Well, he can't be. He can't if he can't do these things. He will not be the best broadcaster, because the analysis that he is able to give will be so dramatically hindered by his lack of access that he is functionally no different than somebody watching the games on TV, with the obvious difference that he played in the league for a billion years.
Imagine if Tom Brady was calling that game last night. Tom Brady would not be allowed by the NFL to have said there are too many flags being thrown in this game. He can't do it.
Yeah.
If he was calling a Browns game, week 1, called a Browns game, right? If he was calling another Browns game and Deshaun Watson had another one of his patented clunkers, he could not criticize that team. And the moves they decided to make to put them in their current situation. 3 years of no first round picks. This huge contract to Watson. Can't say anything about it. You like, Fox gave this dude $300 million. You can't allow this.
And they demoted one of the best up and coming broadcasters ever.
Yes, they did. It's an excellent point. It is going to,
it's ridiculous.
It is going to severely hinder his ability to be a very good broadcaster. And I already don't necessarily think he's a natural. Like,
he's not natural. Yeah. I think he's been better since his first game, but he was also really bad his first game, and it's certainly not natural.
Yeah, don't like that for Fox, for sure. Spencer, what's your first headline?
You guys yesterday discussed the men's basketball AP preseason top 25. Well, the women's came out today, and Kansas State women ranked 13th. That's the first time in 20 years they've been a ranked team in the preseason. Other Big 12 teams in the top 25 include Iowa State at 8, Baylor at 12, and West Virginia at 16. And a lot is on this K-State team for this year, obviously, with Aoka Lee returning along with Serena Sundell. I think they can be big contenders, but the AP world, the people that vote in there are also watching as well.
Yeah, pretty cool to see. That's the first time since the 04-05 season that they have been ranked in the preseason. Number one, by the way, naturally, the defending undefeated national champions from South Carolina.
Yeah, very excited. I'll get to see that K-State team up close and personal when they play Washburn here in a couple weeks in exhibition play. Really excited for that one.
I'll be there too.
Yeah, right? You'll be there for that one. Yeah.
Next headline for me. This is a wild headline. Brett McMurphy broke this about an hour ago via Twitter. Big 12 Commissioner Brett Yormark was contacted a few months ago by a search firm seeking a new CEO for Live Golf. Perhaps you're familiar. If you're not, that's the rogue professional golf tour bankrolled entirely by the public investment fund of the country of Saudi Arabia. The kingdom, of Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
The call lasted only 1 minute, a source close to Yormark told Action Network headquarters. There was no interest on Yormark's part. Sports Business Journal reported Yormark was among the early targets to replace outgoing CEO Greg Norman. So Live Golf called Brett Yormark and said, hey, you know how you're doing totally legitimate business for a Power 4 Division I sports conference? How'd you like to run interference for the Blood Money Bonesaw Golf Tour?
Yeah, hard to imagine him doing that. I'm going to give you a take here. Brett Yormark's next job is pro sports commissioner.
That's interesting.
He is about, as far as I'm aware, the same age as the other commissioners that are currently doing their thing. I don't know how old Gary Bettman is, but actually, now that I say that out loud, if any league could use some help getting like, hey, in the public, we're cool and good and like some fanfare for it, I actually think the NHL would be really smart to call Brett Yormark.
Gary Bettman is 72 for the record. Yeah, Yormark has never struck me as a college sports lifer. He's not Greg Sankey. He's not Jim Phillips.
No.
I do not think this is a forever job for Brett Yormark. The Big 12 is fortunate that he is in this job.
Yes.
They should try everything they can to keep him in this job for as long as they possibly can. But yes, I do think there is a future where someone else is commissioner of the Big 12 and Brett Yormark is pro sports. I think make a lot of sense.
Yeah. I think that's where he eventually wants to
major
get to.
Entertainment executive. Remember, he had the Rock Nation background.
That's true. Yeah, that's certainly possible as well. And he worked with the Brooklyn Nets.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's got all those ties. From one Brett McMurphy report to another, our next 580 Sports Talk headline on this Tuesday, October 15th. Some realignment, although it's only kind of realignment. Brett McMurphy reported this after midnight last night. He is all over the realignment. Hawaii will become a full member of the Mountain West in 2026, giving the league the required 8 full members to meet FBS requirements as an NCAA conference. With Hawaii on board, the league will resume discussions with MAC schools, Northern Illinois and Toledo, to potentially become football-only members. I'm going to get to that second note here in just a moment. First things first, Hawaii, this makes sense. They've been football only in the Mountain West since 2012, I think it was. Yes, since 2012, all of their other non-football sports compete in the Big West. So You're talking like UC Santa Barbara and UC Irvine and those programs. Shorter travel distances, much smaller athletic budgets. I had read recently that part of the issue for making Hawaii a full-time member was making sure they could subsidize flights for Mountain West schools to get to Hawaii, because they help pay for teams to fly to the islands for games. They help subsidize those. And obviously, it's easier to get from the coast of California to Hawaii than it is to fly from Colorado Springs to Hawaii, for example. So would you be willing to subsidize those bigger costs? Yes. Okay. You're in. They're now a full member. No word on what the Big West is going to do. Here's the other note from this, though. The Mountain West is reportedly going to resume discussions with Northern Illinois and Toledo out of the MAC. My first reaction, as it was a couple weeks ago, do not touch the MAC. It is our one perfect little boy that is left in the college football world. It is the last thing in major college football we have that is good and pure.
That makes geographic sense.
Yes, it is the way that college football is meant to be. A bunch of kids who really don't know what they're doing, who play regional rivals at schools of a similar size and play a very cohesive style of football. Do not mess with it. That being said, you might ask, why in the world would the Mountain West want to add teams in Toledo, Ohio, and DeKalb, Illinois?
I am asking.
And there is one very specific reason about it. It's money. The big picture, it's money. That's why. They would become then the only FBS conference, and I believe the only conference other than the Pioneer League, maybe not even the Pioneer League, that would have a team in every single American time zone. They would have Eastern Time, Toledo, Central Time, Northern Illinois, and then all their other teams are in the Mountain or the Pacific time zone plus Hawaii time.
Now, you may be asking yourself, if you are listening, and think, wait a minute, what about the Big 12 conference? What about Arizona and Arizona State? They're only kind of in Pacific time.
Yeah, they've got the whole Arizona doesn't really observe daylight savings thing. Also, they don't have Hawaii time.
Oh, that's true.
And there was a report. There were a couple different reports. I know Matt Brown, friend of the program, wrote about it in the Extra Points newsletter as well, that one thing that schools are going to try to bank on with Hawaii in this whole situation, and you might think this is gross, you might think this is exciting, gambling money.
Of course.
A lot of folks trying to chase a loss. Like, oh, man, 0 for 16 today. I need one more parlay, brother.
It's well known that the Hawaii game is a big gambling draw on a weekly basis.
They're the last leg of my 19-leg parlay, man. I just need Shager to throw for 400 yards, and I got it. I can make it all back.
I took a bath today, but if the Bows hit the over, I can go to bed on a win.
Yeah, that's a big part of it as well. I hope it does not happen because I don't want them to break up the MAC.
No, agreed. Spencer, you have another headline for us?
Yes, I do. It gives me great pleasure to talk about Cowboys under Jerry Jones. He was fired up about while he was on a weekly radio show that he agreed to do via contract that the Cowboys have with Odyssey Station 105.3 The Fan in Dallas. And he got very defensive when asked about not making more moves in the offseason. He goes, quote, "This is not your job. Your job isn't to let me go over all the reasons that I did something and I'm sorry that I did it. That's not your job. I'll get somebody else to ask these questions. I'm not kidding. You're going to figure out what team is doing right and wrong. If you are any 5 or 10 like you need to come to this NFL meeting I'm going to today with 32 teams here. You're geniuses." That's among one thing. He also said, "You really think you're just going to sit here with a microphone and tell me all of the things that I've done wrong without going over the rights?"
Jerry, your team just lost by 38 points at home.
I mean,
yes, I'm absolutely going to do that.
The greatest part was it was his freaking birthday, and they kept showing him on the TV broadcast as the Lions were scoring.
I never had a birthday that bad.
No. I got dumped my birthday weekend one time.
I remember. I think you've told that story.
Yeah, that was not very. I mean, I worked here at the time. That was not a very fun weekend. I'll tell you what. Bartender comped me pool when I went to sit at a bar alone. Yeah, which is even more sad when you don't drink.
Water's on me.
That's why he couldn't comp me to drink, so he gave me some quarters to go play pool. This is wild. Like, dude, don't call out the radio host, man. Get a clue. He both wants to always be in the spotlight and can't take a lick of criticism. He's embarrassing.
Yeah.
And I know he doesn't care because he has $1 billion, so what? But it's embarrassing.
All right, last thing. How about we do a playoff roundup? Does that sound good to everybody?
That sounds great to me, and I bet it will sound great.
It's time for the 580 Sports Talk Playoff Roundup.
We were covered for you, Spencer.
Yeah, I wanted to make sure you had time to get to it.
You were quicker on the draw. The NLCS is tied at 1. The Mets hang on for a 7-3 win over the Dodgers in Game 2 of the National League Championship Series yesterday afternoon. Mark Vientos' grand slam, the big blow, as the Mets took an early 6-0 lead and held on for the victory. Game 1 of the ALCS goes to the Yankees in the Bronx. Juan Soto homered, and the Yankees jumped out to a 4-0 lead and held it late for a 5-2 triumph. Giancarlo Stanton also homering for the Bronx Bombers in the win. Carlos Rodon, excellent in the game for the Yankees on the mound. 6 innings, a 1-run ball with 9 strikeouts. Game 2 of the series takes place tonight, a 6:38 Central Time first pitch. Both teams throwing their aces. Garrett Cole for the Yanks, Tanner Bybee for the Guards.
Hey, I wasn't here to talk about it over the weekend, but guess who hit the grand slam?
It was your boy, Lane Thomas.
Lane Thomas wasn't here to talk about it.
That was big. That was big. I'm glad I'm glad the Guardians are here, but you saw in Game 1 why they're not going to win this series.
Oh yeah,
they're going to run their arms into the ground, and the Yankees have been able to stay off their bullpen. Like, that's what it's going to come down to for me. It's why I think we're going to get Yankees Mets in the World Series. And I know, projectile vomit. Nobody wants a Subway Series. But those teams are getting length from their starting pitchers. Now, the Dodgers have sort of flipped that a little bit because they got 5 innings from Yamamoto in Game 5 of the division series. They got 6 from Flaherty, really good innings in Game 1. If they can get length from the 3 guys they have starting, that changes things a little bit. But it's also still 3 starting pitchers. They have to bullpen a game. They tried to do it yesterday. It didn't work out. Cleveland's going to have to try and bullpen their way through this series. I don't think they can do it 4 times in 7 to win. I want it, but I don't see it. Game 2 tonight, 6:38 first pitch. We'll take a break. We'll come back. We'll talk a little Royals baseball. The big free agent domino that has to fall for the Royals this offseason. That's next on 580 Sports Talk. 5:33 on 580 Sports Talk. An NFL trade happened while we were taking a break. The Minnesota Vikings have acquired running back Cam Akers from the Houston Texans. According to Alec Lewis, friend of the program, former Royals beat writer for The Athletic, currently the beat writer for the Vikings, this will help fortify the Vikings running back depth, not a major indication of anything long-term with Aaron Jones, who remains week to week with his hip injury.
So here's a little fun fact for you about Cam Akers.
He's not good?
There are 57 qualified running backs this year. So you have to have a certain number of carries to be qualified, just like in baseball, same thing. Of those 57, Cam Akers is 51st in rush yards over expectation.
That's not great.
It's his stat is a negative number. So he is well below, based on down and distance, type of play, number of defenders in the box, etc. He is 51st out of 57. Only 9 players have faced an 8-man box less. So they're not packing the box, and he is still one of the least efficient running backs in the NFL.
The Texans have some depth at that position. They got Dameon Pierce, who looked like he was going to be somebody and then was miserable last year. Has been pretty decent in limited time this year. And they like Dare Ugamawale, too.
Yeah.
They give him the ball quite a bit. So I don't know why, because he averages 2.3 yards per rush, but he's a good receiving back. Really is kind of his role in that offense. So yeah, they got guys. I understand it from the Houston perspective.
Houston's kind of in that early career Patrick Mahomes spot where why would you run?
Yeah,
you got CJ Stroud. Why would we run?
Yeah, why are you keeping the ball on the ground? No need.
Why invest in running backs?
For real.
The one other headline we didn't get to in the NFL, and we can get into it a little bit more later in the week. It sounds like Russell Wilson's going to start for the Steelers on Sunday.
What the hell?
Here's the thing. Like, I know they're winning football games with Justin Fields, but it's not like Justin Fields has been good.
Yeah. We knew that. I feel like this was inevitable.
What are they, 26th in total offense? Like, it would be one thing if they were even average, but it's a stinky offense. You may as well see if the veteran who's won a Super Bowl can make it less stinky than a guy who I think Justin Fields is still verifiably stinky.
According to expected points added, they are 18th, so they're just below the midway point of the league. I will say this, and I'm a Fields hater. It better freaking work. Because if you pull Fields, who by all accounts his teammates really like, and Wilson, who rubs some teammates the wrong way, let's say.
He's an acquired taste, Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
If you pull Fields after this start to the season and Wilson doesn't lead you to wins, oh boy.
Yeah, they better win next week.
That is not going to be reflected well on Mike Tomlin.
They play the Jets, and they better win that game.
Yeah.
They better, or at the very least, Wilson better play well right off the rip. We do have a text from the Tough Emails Play text line from the 785 from a Steelers fan who says, finally. So,
I don't think Fields is good. I think they have gotten Justin Fields to do the bare minimum. Like, don't turn the ball over and run QB sweep.
Right.
Like, that's all they've asked him to do, and it's worked.
So the big question is, can Russell Wilson still do that stuff? Because I think that's a legitimate question. Like, at his age, can he still do those things? Can he still do the Russell Wilson stuff to raise the ceiling enough of that offense? Obviously, Mike Tomlin thinks he can.
I think the one person who's going to benefit from this a ton is George Pickens.
Yes.
Because
moonballs.
Russell
Wilson loves a moonball, man.
George Pickens, go deep. You can do that. He'll try on those routes. Russell Wilson throws over the middle less than I think even Justin Fields does, though.
He's never liked doing it.
Which is very anti-Arthur Smith, their offensive coordinator. I think this whole situation's fascinating. I'm surprised. I'm just surprised it turns out it was not a phantom benching.
Yeah.
I think everyone is kind of surprised that it wasn't just a phantom benching of Wilson. Good luck.
Yeah. Wish him all the best. You know where I stand on Russell Wilson. I'll be pulling for him. I hope it goes well for him. I hate to see him go out sad because he made me very happy for many, many years.
Yeah.
Anyhow, we'll double back to football in a bit. I want to get to some baseball. One headline that we did not get to from baseball: 4 Royals named Gold Glove finalists today.
Hey.
It's kind of a misnomer. They already know who's going to win the Gold Glove. They just put out like the top 3 vote getters. Just like when they named the MVP finalists. It's not like, oh, now they get everybody together to vote on those guys. No, they already know who's going to win.
It's Heisman's the same way, isn't it?
Essentially.
Yeah. Like they don't narrow it down.
Right.
Ranked choice voting and then vote for the finalists. No, they just have a winner.
So Bobby Witt Jr. is a finalist at shortstop, and I think he's going to win his first Gold Glove this year. Freddie Fermin, a finalist at catcher,
which is crazy.
I do not think he is going to win.
I don't think he's going to win, but like, it's cool that he got recognized.
Yes,
Typically, backup catchers don't get recognized like that, but he is legit excellent at
He
controlling.
had 72 starts.
Legit excellent at controlling the run game. 2 Royals pitchers are the 3 finalists. Seth Lugo and Cole Reagans are finalists for the pitcher Gold Glove. I think Lugo's going to win it.
Yeah.
I'm sick.
So I think they're going to have 2 Gold Glovers, which is a pretty cool thing. Anyhow, I was reading Jalen Thompson's article in the Kansas City Star this morning. He's the Royals beat writer. And we talked about Michael Wacha yesterday. We did our Royals postmortem. We talked about Wacha and the decision that he faces. He has a 1-year, $16 million player option that he can opt out of. When he signed his contract going into last season, 2 years, $32 million, both years at $16 million, and opt out after this year. Now, it helps the Royals that Wacha doesn't have to decide before the offseason actually starts. And J.J. Piccolo mentioned this in his press conference yesterday. The Royals have an exclusive negotiating window, essentially, where they can talk to Wacha, they can talk to his representatives and say, so which way is the wind blowing here? If he's thinking about picking up his option, great. We'd love him to pick up his option.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's a no-brainer. The Royals would be delighted if Wacha decides, yeah, I'll take the bird in the hand. But if he's not going to pick it up, and most opt-outs generally are exercised if a player gets hurt or has a really lousy year, what is he going to be looking for in the open market? That's what the Royals kind of get a feel for. Like, what is Michael Wacha in his mid-30s, but a reliable veteran starting pitcher who now has managed to remain healthy for a couple of years in a row, which was a big question about him there for a while. What's he going to be looking for in the open market? And what I think is interesting is you look at other 30-something starting pitchers from last year's free agent market, like the guys in the same class as Wacha. So I'm not including a 2-time Cy Young Award winner like Blake Snell in this conversation, but other guys who are like reliable mid-rotation starting pitchers in their 30s last year. They all got pretty similar contracts to what Michael Wacha got. Marcus Stroman got 2 years, $37 million from the Yankees. Sean Manaea got 2 years, $28 million from the Mets. Lucas Giolito, who didn't even pitch this year because his arm went bad, he got 2 years and $38.5 million from the Red Sox.
Oof.
Nick Martinez got 2 years and $26 million from Cincinnati. Kenta Maeda got 2 years and $24 million from Detroit. You average that out, and about $15-16 million a year is the going rate for a guy in Wacha's class. So does Wacha think essentially, I think the money adds up. I think the Royals can be competitive money-wise. Does he think he can get an extra year or two, and are the Royals willing to give it to him? That's the decision they have to make, and I think that's the first big decision of their offseason. It's Wacha's decision primarily. Is he going to take the money? But then it becomes the ball in the Royals' court if he doesn't. Do they want to run it back for 2 years with Michael Wacha? I don't think that's a terrible idea, but I also don't think it's a terrible idea to go into next year and say our starting rotation is Cole Reagan, Seth Lugo, Brady Singer, Alec Marsh, and then one of Chris Bubich, Daniel Lynch, and Kyle Wright, and say we'll put those other guys in the bullpen and we'll figure it out, and we'll take that $16 million and we'll go find ourselves a power hitter in the corner outfield. I don't necessarily think either way is wrong, but I do think that the Royals, as we just talked about, they have 4 Gold Glove finalists. The Royals are a team that are going to build, I think, this iteration of their team, pitching and run prevention first and foremost. And if that's your guiding philosophy, if that's what you want to be how you are defined and how you win games, keep the veteran who started 29 games for you and took the ball in game 1 of a playoff series for you.
Yeah, my lean is that you stick with what got you here. I, again, believe that the Royals are going to go get a bat one way or the other. Whether or not Michael Wacha is on the team again, I think they are going to go find a major league bat, and they will make the best of that situation.
And I agree with that. I don't think it's either or, right?
Yeah. That second one, and we talked a little bit about this yesterday, Dan, I do think that secondary move is fascinating. I think, the Royals need offense, but maybe I'm too much of a pessimist, and you can tell me if I am, but the backside of that pitching rotation that you just laid out for me, I don't love. I would rather have Wacha, to be completely honest with you. I would. So like maybe Bubich comes back, and with a full offseason of work, you get him back to a spot where he can be a decent enough 4th or 5th starter, which it looked like he was going to be before Tommy John last year.
My thought is leave Bubich in the bullpen because he was your best or second best reliever toward the end of last year, and see if you can't stretch out Daniel Lynch again. And I know that hasn't gone well, but here's the other thing too with the Royals is they have the improvement that Marsh showed in his first big league season, which it made 25 starts, had an ERA in the mid-4s. Like if that's your if that's your 4, that's probably fine. The Royals had a better 4 than that this past year, though. They had Michael Wacha. But given the improvements they saw with Marsh, given the improvements they got out of Bubic and Lynch, given the short-term improvement that they were able to induce with Michael Lorenzen when he came over in trade, if the Royals believe that their pitching development is such that they can maybe go out and get a Michael Lorenzen type and turn him into an effective number 4, number 5, then maybe that's the direction they choose to go. I think if you're the Royals, I like the bird in the hand option a lot better. I think the thing that would be best for both parties, well, I shouldn't say for both parties. The best scenario for the Royals is Wacha opts in. The best scenario for Wacha is probably not that, because I think somebody will be willing to give him 2 guaranteed years. But that somebody could be the Royals.
Yeah, somebody could be giving him that. I do think it helps the Royals that they can say, hey, look, man, why move again?
Yeah.
You played on 6 teams in 6 years. We'll have more time this offseason to talk about this. Do you think there's a lot left out of Daniel Lynch to learn? He's going to be 28 this coming season.
The things he did in relief were outstanding.
Yeah.
He's always been really impressive in small doses.
And so maybe you look at that and say, hey, he took this like a duck to water. Let's just leave him here.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just leave him in the bullpen and go with him and Bubic and Long and Zerpa, and we're going to be really good from the left side with a bunch of guys who can get right-handers out from the left side. Like there's not really, like, Long and Zerpa were used more situationally, but you don't have to use Lynch and Bubic situationally because they prove that they can work in long
no true
relief.
loogies in there.
Yeah. So, and maybe you just say, hey, we're going to be awesome from the left side.
Yeah.
We're going to be really good from the left side with those 4 guys. I wouldn't blame them. Then that puts a little onus then perhaps on Marsh to improve, for Kyle Wright to return to 2022 form, which, does he have that in him after shoulder surgery?
Yeah, hard to know.
It's hard to know. We won't know until we see him on a mound.
It's nice to have options, though.
It is. And you always need more.
Yeah.
Because like I said yesterday, you can't count on the same 5 guys in your rotation combining for, 140 starts?
Yeah, it was a preposterous number of starts last year. No, you need some more depth.
Yes, you absolutely need some depth. So we're going to take a break. We'll come back. A quick Chiefs question as we round third and head for home. We're mixing our sports metaphors on 580 Sports Talk. .548 on 580 Sports Talk. We talked earlier on the show in the 3 o'clock hour. If you missed it, you can check out the podcast, 580wibw.com, or on Spotify. Just search us on Spotify, 580 Sports Talk. We're there. You can listen to hour-by-hour breakdowns of the show. You can rewind on the video if you're watching live, or you can catch the archive video on 580 Sports Talk, our YouTube channel. We talked about the possibility of the Chiefs adding a wide receiver at the trade deadline. But what if they don't? What if they decide what we've got is good enough? You posed this question, Brandon. I think it's an interesting one. Like, which Chiefs skill position player could increase their production, be a bigger part, not just a bigger part, because obviously everybody's roles, it's next man up. Everybody's role is going to increase with the losses of guys like Hollywood Brown and Rashee Rice. But who could really make a positive impact for the Chiefs offense for their final 12 games of the regular season into the playoffs? For me, this has a really obvious answer.
Okay.
It's Noah Gray.
Yes, also my answer. Like, going double tight end or even triple tight end, like that's the move for this team. How many teams are built to stop double tight ends right now?
Not many.
No, that's part of the reason I was really high on some of the, that's a big Sean McVay thing. And it's one of the things I thought they can kind of do because they've got two receivers who are super muscular and can block too. But teams aren't built to stop things like that. And if you've got two guys who are competent receivers and at least decent blockers, and Gray has gotten better at that. Kelsey, we know, is a pretty fine blocker. I think that's the way you steer into it right now. If you're the Chiefs, you already know you're good at running the ball. You're very efficient, if not explosive, when you run the ball. You can do all sorts of play action stuff with multiple tight ends. We know what Travis Kelsey is. Why not bring Noah Gray more into the fold? We know he can contribute.
You gave him 3 years. He's obviously an important part of your operation.
I can't believe they gave him that contract. And I'm not complaining, but prove it now, right? Like, he was absolutely my answer to this as well. I think he makes so much sense to get more involved.
Same thought process. We have YouTube viewer Go4KC Forever who suggests Jody Fortson.
Yeah!
We are pro Jody Fortson on this program, but it's the same idea, right? Like, more formations with tight ends, more opportunities for those guys to get going. You talk about which teams are geared to stop a tight end. Which teams are geared really to stop any kind of tight end?
Not many.
Like,
and the issue with that, because it's as simple, well, just get the ball to your tight end. Not every team has a tight end that is like good enough to fill that out. And like, if Jody Fortson's tight end 1, I'm concerned about that group. But if Jody Fortson is tight end 3, you can get freaky with it. Like, Jody Fortson should always be on the field inside the 10-yard line.
Yes.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think the Chiefs should almost always go 13 personnel inside the 10-yard line.
Bulk
up, be beefy.
4 tight ends. Get Jared Wiley into boxing people out.
Yeah, no, that's,
I mean, he's like the
too.
one guy that hasn't really gotten involved this year. I talked to Mitch Holthus about it last week when he was on when I was on the solo with him, and he was like, it's kind of funny. He's the one guy that hasn't, like, you bring Jody Fortson back and he makes an impact. We're just waiting for Wiley to make an impact.
No, I agree with you, Dan. I would try to beef up in that area. Zig while everyone else is zagging. And I think that would really help this team.
And they've run the ball super effectively out of 12 and 13 personnel over the years too. So you're not sacrificing anything, I don't think, in your offense by doing that. But we're kind of on the same boat as far as which players could make a bigger impact. To me, Noah Gray, you gave him that money. You obviously believe in him. Throw him the rock. Let's see what he's got. I think he's got the capability to have the best year of his career. This year. I would expect the best numbers of his career moving forward. We'll take one final break, come back for the final word on 580 Sports Talk.
geographic atrophy, or GA. GA can be unpredictable and progress rapidly, leading to irreversible vision loss. Now there's something you can do to
slow it down. Get it going slower.
Izervay is proven to slow GA progression.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Izervay or avacincaptad pegol is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com.
WIBW, Topeka.
One more thing. In conclusion, you better wrap it up.
It is time for a final word to wrap up this edition of 580 Sports Talk. Spencer Dupuis, lead us off.
Yes, I was not on the show yesterday.
Right.
And I didn't get to talk about how disgusted I was with the Marshall Thundering Herd and head coach Charles Huff, who needs to be fired today.
Fries in the bag, coach.
Yes, fries in the bag after what he did. He was playing quarterback carousel in the middle of the third quarter into the fourth quarter when they had a 20-something point lead. They're like, oh, let's take Stone Earl out. Let's put in Braylon Braxton. Let's put in Stone Earl. Let's do this, do that. Just pick a quarterback and stay with him. Please pick the right one this Thursday. Also, Commanders played the Ravens. That's kind of my expected outcome for that game. But yeah, the Commanders defense needs to get better. Also, T's and P's to John Allen, who now tore his pec.
Yeah, tough day yesterday for your
Not
team.
great football news for our guy Spencer. Brendan, what do you got?
My final word today is I think both the Bills and Jets got better today, and I think both of their moves made some sense. For the Bills, you had to go get a better receiver. I like Khalil Shakir. He's still coming back from injury. Dalton Kincaid hasn't quite taken off for them. James Cook out, really sort of exposed. They needed another playmaker. There are flaws that come with Amari Cooper's game, but he's still a really good player. He's still by far the best receiver they now have on that roster, and I think that, as Matt Verderame told us yesterday, gets them closer to being a legit contender for a Super Bowl. For the Jets, you've given your entire franchise to Aaron Rodgers. You may as well make the guy happy. And Devontae Adams is still really good. Oh, and by the way, his hamstring is healthy now. Wow, shocking. I think this means more for the Bills than the Jets. The Jets' problems are way deeper than just receiver. So I think both teams got better, but better is more important for Buffalo.
My final word today is that our exercise that we did at the top of the second hour, the 4 o'clock hour today's show, re-tiering the Big 12 teams at the midway point, really served to, I think, highlight just how unpredictable, how topsy-turvy this Big 12 season has been. BYU and Iowa State are the front runners right now in this league, and that's with due respect to Texas Tech, who's also 3-0 in the conference. But they don't have the feel of conference champions. And maybe that's unfair. I'm trying not to be a hater here. I don't think I am. But those teams don't have the individual talent that makes them feel like a real conference championship contender. That's why I still think the conference champion ultimately in the automatic bid to the playoff is not going to be one of those two teams. I still think it might end up being Kansas State in the end. We're going to take send it to Dave Ramsey because the show's over. We're done with the show. We're going to do it again tomorrow from 3 to 6. Really stuck the landing. For Brendan and Spencer, I'm Dan. See ya.